Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
They got the wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is the next search on February 28, 2020. 7:44 p.m. How, does the FBI find people, and people is misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
What more do we need to see?
Alrighty. We are back. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. I just fixed the seats. I went for some alliteration. I failed miserably, but I went with it anyway. Welcome back. Welcome. Please, everyone come in. Ricky Watson, my friend. Ricky. First in chat. Ricky, congratulations. I love it. I love also that your profile picture is you standing next to the one, the only Matthew Harris from Matthew Harris Law PLC, who is working his tail end off right now, doing legal things. Hope he's winning all his cases right now. Ricky, congratulations. I'm not sure if this is good news for everyone else or bad news, but we're going to sentence you to internet ownership, which means you're responsible for fixing the internet for everybody worldwide if it breaks. And I should say when it breaks, because it always breaks, right? It always breaks. All right. Good luck, my friend. Congratulations. This might be your first win ever. I think this is your first time you're first in chat, but congratulations. Miami lady, did you hear about the plea deal? Yes, Sarah Boone got offered a 15-year plea deal, which I will just say is a sweet deal. A sweet deal when you're facing life in prison. 15 years is great, considering, according to her math, she's already done a third of it, right? Even though it's been 4 years, I think she says 5. She's already done a third of it, but there you go. She turned it down. So, all right. So off to court we go, but not until after the hurricane comes and goes, and it's already, I believe it is up to a Category 5 right now, and it's getting windy. Milton is a Cat 5. That's, for those that are doing like record keeping, that's as big as we get on the measurement scale. It can go faster, like the winds can be faster, but it doesn't go to like Cat 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, 5 is like, it's as big as it gets. It's a 5. It's anything above a certain wind speed. I think it's 157 or something like that miles per hour, and it's got 160. So yeah, it's a Cat 5. Might weaken a little bit before it hits Florida, but weakening a little bit is still a massive, massive storm. And right now, it's pushing all that wind. It's pushing all that water, and a huge storm surge expected, and tons of rain. I mean, like tons isn't enough. It's hard to fathom how much of the Gulf Coast is going to be dropped on Florida in the form of water. In the coming week. It's absolutely wild and crazy. Anyways, please stay safe if you're down there. Heed all the instructions and the advice of authorities if you're able to evacuate, please do. If you're not, please prepare. I won't say that. Never mind. I remember, it just caused me to remember another storm where people were asked to evacuate, and they said, if you don't evacuate, at least you can do is write your name and date of birth on your arm in permanent marker, so when we find your body, we'll know who you are. I don't think it's that bad there yet, but hopefully it doesn't get to that. Hope Case Unwinder, welcome to the gallery, brand new member. Thank you very much for joining us. You can never leave. Should have told you that before, but you'll never want to. You're among friends. Thank you, Hope Case Unwinder. Appreciate that. Jennifer Juniper gifted a membership. Thank you. Michelle B., welcome to the gallery. Detect Vids, who is a metal detector at heart, just like me, right? Detective Vids. Member for 11 months. TYO Toys. It has travel credits. Yeah, it's all about the travel credits. 18 months. Phil, thank you. We still need to talk about Virginia and make sure everything happens right up there. Catsy, so glad to be part of the RA community. 9 months, Catsy. Thank you very much for that. Regina Crawford coming in with a $2 super chat. Can you stream the Burn Pile Murder? That show? We're not going to call it the Burn Pile Murder, but we're going to go there in just a second. We're a few minutes behind. They started opening statements 10, 15 minutes ago. We're going to skip most of the instructions and jump straight to opening statements, or just before then. We're calling it the Mountain Dew Murder. Yep, it's the Mountain Dew Murder. I mean, I've heard a little bit of evidence already on that, and I think it's the Mountain Dew Murder. The Burn Pile might be involved, but it was the Mountain Dew Murder. Debbie Faison Cook, member for 3 months, says, I love this place and you guys so much. Thanks for all the fun times and making me part of the family. You are part of the family. Welcome. It would not be the same here without you. I appreciate that. All right. Here's the deal. We can start the Mountain Dew Murder, but we can't finish it because Sarah Boone is happening. It's happening. Unless something crazy happens in the Mountain Dew Murder, we're going to have to just take a siesta mid-trial and then portal to Sarah Boone. So it's Mountain Dew's a 4-week trial. Is Sarah Boone's a 4-week trial? 3-4 week? Yeah, it's going to be. It's a good one. All right. So that said, I just wanted to say we had a great talk with Andrea, who has been the driving force helping Haley, Haley from Cedric Simpson's court. I had a great talk with her. We're going to let them focus on basically the rebuilding and the steps that need to, as you know, there's a bunch of stuff in the works to get this all sorted and get the court case resolved and the debts paid and things paid out and all that. We're going to let them focus. We will follow the trial as it happens live in Cedric Simpson's court. We're going to follow that when they appear. We'd like to keep doing that, but we're going to let them take a step back from the public side because this has just been so much for them. And we just, I conveyed our appreciation for that, for Andrea, for what she's done and the example she set, and just our heartfelt, desire for Haley to really get on a fresh start and have a little bit of a head start. So I passed that all along to you, and she in turn just wanted to say thank you so much to all of you for the support. Just amazing outpouring. So thank you. With that, I also have to say, any news that might come out is going to be, we won't share it until after it happens. And so, sorry, we teased it earlier, but they are putting $16K in escrow with the court, and she's opening a bank account. That's what we know. So we watched we did watch the emergency meeting. Most of the discussion happens in chambers with the lawyer for Spice Tree and Haley and the judge. And what Andrea told us is when Haley came out, there was just a buoyancy to her step and a smile on her face, and that's awesome. So, and we may see Andrea in chat occasionally too. So please be mindful of that as well. Thank you. All right, we're going to jump. We're going to jump because this is good. My goodness, this is good. This judge has a bit of a personality. For those that, let's see, for those that are following along with this trial, or have not been following along, I think is who we need to talk to. For those that don't know, Donnie, you stole a credit card again. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Sorry, Karen. We're picking this up from scratch. So we're not going to give a backstory on this. You're going to hear in the opening statements all the allegations. This is a murder trial. This is a wife accused of murdering a husband. And then there's a burn pile involved, and possibly the burn pile was used to hide evidence or cover evidence, or used as like, oh, actually that was the culprit. That's where we are. That's all we're going to start with, and we're in Georgia. We're in the big old GA. So that's where we're going to go. And
we're afraid we might have to put a camera in that corner next to you, so that's why we didn't do that.
That's the judge's voice.
Your notes will be collected and destroyed at the end of the deliberations.
This is the end of the.
There will probably be, throughout the course of the
It's our
trial,
defendant.
some reference to things that y'all have seen on TV and movies that cover trials. No one ever covers this part in a adaptation of a trial. No one talks about the instructions from the judge. You never see that anywhere. One of the things that always happens in a movie or TV is there's some dramatic moment and the lawyer says, Mr. Court Reporter, please recite back the evidence or the testimony of the prior witness, blah, blah, blah. We don't have that capability, okay? Shane is taking down the trial. He's speaking into a mask.
Shane.
Everything that's being said in the trial is also being recorded on a multi-track recording. So every microphone has its own independent feed into his system. He is repeating back what is being said as it's being said so that he can verify what was being said. There's no way for him to repeat that back to you, and then no one would be able to repeat what he's saying while he's reading it back to you. So that's not going to happen. There'll be other things that the lawyers will probably refer to that you're used to seeing in a trial that's not going to happen in this case.
I can do that. I can play back to you.
Let's see. While I'm thinking about it, I'll probably refer some of this to you again later. But we're going to have parking for y'all the rest of the week.
Ooh, free parking.
So there'll be a designated parking space when y'all get here. That should open up about 15 minutes before I tell you to be here. If you're super type A and you're going to be here 30 minutes before I tell you to be here, you're going to be too early, and there's not going to be anyone down there to get the parking for you. But we're going to have an area either roped off with tape or with pylons, and there'll be a bailiff or court security will be there and you'll come up and tell them you're a jury, and they'll move the cone out of the way, and you can pull in the space. But we're going to do that for you for the week, so we don't have to worry about y'all having a parking space on Wednesday when it's state court arraignment and there are 500 cars out there.
Now we all know how to get free parking at the courthouse. We just have to say you're a member of the jury.
With all that, state ready to proceed with opening statements? Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do the bailiffs. That's what I usually do.
Let's swear him in. Why not? This judge also goes a lot. Like the 3 times I've heard. See, that's him. He's buffering. He's buffering is all.
Of course, I can't find it what I want.
We're almost to the state's opening statement. This is the very end of the jury selection. What's important to know is the jury can take notes, and they get free parking. We need a counter. I can do that.
Nothing works when you're being observed, just as a general course of...
Love this part. We're about 15 minutes behind. I can speed it up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll stand up.
Just stretch a little bit, and now sit down. Just kidding. Okay, I need camera 3 to be 2.
All right, raise your right hands. You shall well and truly try the issues formed upon this bill of indictment of the state of Georgia versus Melody Walker Ferris, and a true verdict give according to the evidence, so help you God. Say, I do or I will. All right, y'all can be seated. All right, if my bailiffs will come up. All right, this is something that I've been doing for almost every trial that I give. We swear our bailiffs in for the term. A term in Cherokee County is 4 months, but I swear them in for a particular trial every time just because it lets y'all know that just as y'all have taken an oath and the attorneys have taken oaths to practice law as officers of the court, the bailiffs also take an oath. It also has some really nice archaic language that talks about how we can abuse you as jurors that I find interesting. All right.
Sounds like it should
raise
be a
your right
song.
hands. You shall take all juries committed to your charge to the jury room or some other private or convenient place designated by the court, and you shall not allow the jurors to receive any books, papers, nourishment, or hydration other than water, or use any electronic communication device except as directed and approved by the court. You shall make no communication with the jurors, nor permit anyone to communicate with the jurors except as specifically authorized by the court. You shall discharge all other duties which may devolve upon you as bailiff to the best of your skill and power, so help you God.
I will.
All right, thank you. All right, now, if you notice, there's that language I was talking about, but everything says except as approved or directed by the court. So I will allow y'all to bring in coffee or Powerade or whatever you need to get through the trial within reason.
No speed.
And I will give them direction on how to handle y'all now. It's also, I know as we've talked about, y'all having a sweater or jacket or whatever, make sure you have your juror badges on. It's my plan for y'all not to go anywhere without supervision of the bailiffs just because of the nature of the case. So if a group of y'all want to go down and get coffee, a bailiff's going to escort y'all down there. Do I have any smokers? Okay, so about how often do you need a break?
5 minutes.
Can you get by with one in the afternoon? Okay. All right. So what we'll probably do is when if someone needs to go get coffee, we'll have bailiff escort you to one of the entrances where you can to the designated smoking areas. We might try to grab another bailiff to babysit you while you're out there. Okay. All right. All right, anything else we need to take up before opening statements?
Make sure the bailiff's a smoker,
All
too.
right, if you need to plug in your laptop, go ahead. You're already set up. You're good. Okay, all right, you can proceed.
Please, the court, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when we're doing jury selection, I talked to you about being legal investigators. The object of all legal investigation is the discovery of truth. That's why you're here. The question is really, why are you here?
He just told us.
I want to put you at ease through this trial. It's going to be a long trial. It will be a slow burn.
Slow burn.
There's a lot of evidence in this case.
That's a bad
But why is the media here? Look around. Why are these people here? Why are the attorneys here? Why is the defendant here? Gary Ferris will not walk through that door. No problem, Judge. Gary will not walk through that door. In this trial, what you have to do is ask yourself, what is the truth? You have to ask yourself certain questions. You do not have to ask yourself, was Gary murdered? He was. The evidence is going to show that. You do not have to ask yourself, was Gary Ferris burned on a burn pile? He was. The question you have to ask is, who did this? Who did it? This is a murder. This is a heinous murder. He was shot, killed, put on a burn pile, and burned. The question you have to ask, what the evidence demands an answer of, is who murdered Gary? Now, these people that are here to see the trial, what I want you to do is they're going to follow the evidence too. I want you to look at me. Don't worry about that. Follow the evidence. The evidence demands an answer. And the answer is close. It's at hand. It's close to me. It's close to you. It was close to Gary. the object of all legal investigation is the discovery of truth. At this trial, what you have to do is you have to shrink the world. When you see the evidence, this is Cherokee County. They don't have a lot of murders. They definitely don't have a lot of murders when someone was shot and put on a burn pile. You shrink the world. And when you shrink the world, you're going to come to one conclusion and one answer of who. Not what happened, not how it happened, but who did it. And she's near. Frankie, she don't mind. If I can get this technology to work, and Megan's going to help me here. I want to move. I want to talk loudly so everybody can hear me, but what I want to do is, as we go through this,
Technology, that's an easel.
be comfortable, be at peace as you go through this evidence. Relax and listen to what there is. I know there's a lot going on, but you are the most important people in this matter. It does not matter what I say. It does not matter what the defense says. It matters what does the evidence say. What does it speak? Let me introduce you to the Ferris family. You'll see in front of you there's the family line, the lineage. And you'll see on the screen here there's a photograph. You see Gary. Thank you. You see Gary is in this picture, and this is a happy time. This is Emily, the bride in the middle, a daughter. This is a wedding, I think, about 2 years before the murder, 2016. You see Gary, he's in this picture. He's standing there with his wife, the defendant. Now, there are 4 children.
Which one's
and as you
Gary?
go through this, you're going to probably take notes because you hear the same names over and over again. You're going to hear about the Ferris. You're going to hear about the Ferris wheel. Unfortunately for this family is they have drama. They are not a perfect family. My family is imperfect. Everybody's family is. They didn't ask for their life experiences and the good and the bad and ugly to come in. But that's what the evidence is going to show. And I have to present it. I have great sympathy, everybody does, for families like this. But the evidence is going to show what was going on in their family. It's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly, just like anything else. Most families, however, don't consist of murder. Now, in this family, you're going to see Chris. On the right side of the screen, you see Gary and Melody. To the right, as we look at, is Chris. He's the oldest, probably about 37. On the other side is Scott. Scott's about 35. Chris was living, in many ways, his own life. He was married, had his own kids. You hear about the kids. They're going to be here. You're going to hear about Ella and Addison, the grandkids. Scott was in the military over Iraq. He came back for a while, lived on the property, worked the property, had kind of an agreement with his dad that he would work the land and he would get paid. He didn't have a job really after he came back, and then he ended up with the family. But that was his agreement with his dad. Gary was a very generous man, loved his family. So you had the 2 guys, the 2 sons, Chris and Scott. Then you had the 2 girls, Emily in the middle, and Amanda beside her. Amanda was the youngest, the baby, if you would. They were probably around 30, 28, around those age. Gary and Melody got married at a young age. I think it was around 20. 38 years, almost 39. They were married for a long time. They were together, Alabama. Small family. Gary worked hard. You're going to learn a lot about Gary. You're going to learn a lot about Melody. And what you're going to learn is the evidence is going to show that they're both, I dare say, brilliant. He practiced law, corporate law. He went to the University of Alabama. I think he graduated first in his class. Extremely smart, introverted. The defendant, she liked the life of being married to a rich lawyer. Gary did so well when he was in Alabama. The firm he worked for, corporate law, real estate law, things like that, very successful. They sent him to the Atlanta area here to open up an office for the firm. Did very good. Very smart, worked his way up. I think he ended up being a senior partner. Very smart, loved his job. One thing with lawyers, the longer they do it, the longer they get better at it, the more they get better at it, and they stay at it. But sometimes what they do is they don't interact with, because they interact with people all day long. Oftentimes when they get home, they get close, they get small. And Gary's like that. In their wedding, their marriage, they had some issues that we're going to talk about. And it looks like they were happy here. This is about 2016, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes.
Hang on. That looks like they're happy?
Gary, you could set the clock to his routine, his habits. He's one of those guys. The question you got to answer in this trial is not was he murdered, not how was he murdered, but who did it.
Does this look like they're
The evidence
happy?
demands the answer that he was murdered. He was shot and killed and put on a burn pile. This burn pile behind his house. His remains were found. Not much. Gary was a big guy, about 6'4", 300 pounds, give or take.
Here's the burn pile.
About 33 pounds remained.
He looks like about a 270 plus guy.
When you shrink the world, no robbery, no home invasions, no enemies, no road rage, nothing like that. When you shrink the world, in a case like this, husband and wife, wife kills husband, husband dies.
That's
The
what
answer to the
happens when you
question
kill
who
them.
did it
I'm sorry.
sits right there. Melody Walker Ferris.
Wife kills the husband dies. Cause and effect or redundancy.
Let me talk to you about their property. They were affluent. When I grew up in South Carolina, we'd say they were rich. They were rich. He made a lot of money. He would make probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Sometimes his paychecks, even after you take all the taxes out, $20,000. They'd have profit sharing and things like that. He made a lot of money. This property that they lived on in Purcell, 2511 Purcell Lane, Cherokee County, it's a hobby farm. If you see, there's actually a road coming down Purcell Lane, and you see that white area, that's dirt. They had horses. If you go up the driveway that's along the trees at the bottom, and then there's a driveway in the middle of this photograph, that's to the barn where Scott stayed. Now, the family had trouble. Chris had some issues with drinking. He got in an argument with his mom about a year for this. She says that he said something along the lines that Chris was going to beat her to a pulp and put her in a pine box or something along those lines. That's what she says. No, he says. But they had a problem. Scott got back from the military, was living there, getting money from his dad. Emily was married. She had a husband Melody didn't like. He got in some financial troubles, some legal troubles, criminal troubles. Amanda was young. And they all took money from their dad. Not in the bad sense, but he had money. He was willing to do with it. And he'd give him a hard time. When are you going to get a job? When are you going to pay this back? Those type of things. But he could afford it.
Happy birthday, BZ.
House, I believe, is worth the property more than $1 million. Now, when you go through your notes and think about this, we know this case, and sometimes we have to slow down because you don't know the places where this occurred. And the murder occurred in this house. The shooting occurred in the house, in the kitchen, down to the basement. Now, as you look at this house, it's kind of unique in the sense that it's 2 or 3 car garage right here. But as you look at this photograph, you'll see the front. If you go to where that pine tree is, go right behind that pine tree, that's the front. This is looking, if you were kind of looking, if the pond was behind you, you're looking up at what I would call the front, but it's not, it's really the side. I think it's kind of like the east side. But it's got a deck there, and it's a circular deck.
45 degrees to the
Under that deck is where Gary stayed. The basement or the ground level was Gary's domain. That house was the defendant's. She had everything she wanted. It's immaculate. She liked to live the lifestyle. Furs, coats, jewelry, nice paintings, nice furniture, things like that. That was her domain. She was a go-getter. She was tough. She got after it. She cleaned, almost OCD to the point that she cleaned. Her house was beautiful. Gary lived in the bottom. He had a bedroom down there. He had a CPAP. He slept with that CPAP every night. We're going to talk about that. But he stayed down in the bottom. If you kind of walk out, you see where that, it starts on the right side. There's an oval where it juts out. Below that is 2 doors. You'll hear me talk about it. You probably hear me chuckle at some point. There's doors that slide open like this to where he would have his couch and his TV and things like that. I call them American doors because right to the right are French doors. Just how I remember. And you could walk out that American doors, and when you come out there, if you turn left, that's where the burn pile is. This is over by the barn looking back towards the house. They had horses. This is nice property. This is the barn. This is where Scott stayed. Scott stayed on the top, basically being an employee of his dad. Scott wanted the property, loved the property, liked the property, loved the horses. He was invested in it. He was thinking to move on one day and get another job, but he was locked in this property. And he and his mom worked. They may bicker and things like that, but they worked the property. They did a lot of work. And he lived in that barn there on the top. This is back to the house, transitioning back to the house. If you walk in that front door, this is what you see. Now, as you walk in, you're going to see evidence. If you walk in that front door, and I'm staring at the steps. If I'm staring at the steps and I turn right, you're going to go to what I call the kitchen table. If you turn left, there's a bathroom. If you go straight, you're going to go down a hallway to the master bedroom. This is the master bedroom. That door right there, you can walk out and go to the balcony. And that's where that oval porch was. You can stand out over that and look. You can look at the pond. Study room, library, very nice. Very affluent. This is the dining area, looking out towards the pond, nice. This is the kitchen. This is the doorway from the kitchen to the basement. You go down the basement. To the left here, if you look at the picture, there's that light switch and whatnot, then there's that cabinet. Right around the corner is the steps you come down. It's 12 steps down, a landing, 4 steps down. You come down that landing, you stand right there. If you're standing off the steps, you get off the steps, you look straight forward, you're going to look at that bar. This is looking back from the, kind of to the side of the American doors, looking back towards the bar. As you look at this picture, to the right is a hallway. You go down that hallway was Gary's office, where he'd hang out and do stuff, work. He liked to get up in the morning. Because he was a partner, because he'd been doing it so long, because he had those routines, he would get up and go check email. To say that Gary Ferris was a workaholic is an understatement. The man's like a lot of attorneys. Check the emails at night, vacation, it doesn't matter. He's working, he's checking the email, he's busy. He has such patterns and routines you can set your clock by. So as you look here, you go to right's his office. To the left, if you go to the left, there's a hallway that goes to his bedroom. Now, you may want to write these dates down. In July of 2018, we're going to focus on 3 main dates. July 3rd, July 4th, and July 5th. You're going to hear us talk about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Y'all, when I do trials, I am not perfect. I'll mess up names and dates and times. But this is what we're talking about. I'll catch myself and say, I didn't mean 2020, I meant 2018. What we want to do, again, this trial is not about being perfect. It's about the truth, to be authentic. When we did jury selection, you heard me say to be authentic. These are the dates we're going to focus on. July 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And I just want to kind of give an overview of some of the evidence. This is not all the evidence. You're going to hear a lot of evidence, including evidence that we're not going to present. But this is Tuesday, July 3rd. We don't know exactly when Gary was killed, and we don't have to prove that. The evidence does not require us to prove you the exact time that Gary was shot and killed. But we have a very good idea. Tuesday night, around 10 p.m., most likely. Last time he used that CPAP was Tuesday morning. A little after midnight, he got on it. He got up that morning and turned it off. And that machine, when they did a search warrant, shows the times. He's not going to bed without that CPAP. He never used it again. We have no reading that was used again. Now, on Tuesday around lunchtime, Gary had an interesting relationship with his family. And they had some good times, but it was also different. I don't know about y'all, but if I go to a restaurant and I see a friend or a family, I'm going to go up and say, hey, Tom, we're going to hang out, we're going to do stuff. Especially if it's my dad. Well, on Tuesday, Scott and the defendant were working, and they decided to go to lunch. They went to Cherokee Ranch restaurant, a local restaurant. While they were there, Gary was already there. He pays his bill and he leaves and doesn't say a word to him. And that's not uncommon. Because their relationship is not a touchy-feely type of relationship in this family. That's not this family. They communicate a lot by text messages, emails, instead of just calling and talking. That afternoon, Scott went to a lake house. He was there that afternoon and evening. There's a text asking about sleeping over for Addison, which is Chris's daughter, the grandchild. There's a text from her, from the defendant, saying, what about tomorrow night, not tonight? And that was going to show that the defendant loved her grandchildren. If they were close or she could get to them, she would get to them, but not this night. There was a visit Big Daddy and Grandma. That's what they called Gary Melody. Big Daddy, Grandma. Chris and Addison came over that night. Gary was getting the burn pile ready to go. He liked to burn things. He liked to do it. They were there talking to him, see what he's doing, and they left that night because couldn't stay, so they went back. About 10:52 p.m., there's a phone call between the defendant and Scott. And it was basically the defendant saying, the horses are out, when are you coming home? Scott's with his friends. He's down at the lake or whatnot. She's calling, when are you coming home? The horses are out. He gets home, Scott does, about 11:30. Sees the burn piles burning. I think he says something along, I see Dad's burning the burn pile, or he's burning the burn pile, or something like that. Wednesday morning, Scott gets a debit card from his mom because he's going to go play golf. He has this thing on 4th of July that he would play golf, he and his buddies. You're going to hear about his buddies, Philip and Ted. That's just what he did. So about 6:15, I think he goes to the door. I think he calls or texts his mom, the defendant, says, needs the card. She comes out and gives him the card. He goes to the ATM real quickly, right down the road, gets some money, and comes back to go play golf. He's playing golf with his friends, Chris and family. They go to the Peachtree Road Race. Chris and Addison, they then go to the Cracker Barrel, I believe, that morning. Scott goes to the lake on a pool party. He's there in the afternoon and evening. The defendant actually leaves for Lake Lanier to go be with Amanda and Chad Bruce. And you're going to see in things here. You're going to see it's kind of this way. And Chad Bruce was the fiance, now husband to Amanda. Amanda Bruce was Amanda Ferris. And they go there and hang out, and you're going to hear about that. And at some point, they come back from the lake. Chris drops Addison off at the house on Wednesday night because they want to see and hang out. Now, these times may change. I may get them wrong. But you're going to hear the times as we go through. Wednesday night, July 4th, kids around 11 or 12. They come in, they live out of state, they come in, they want to see everybody. They want to see Big Daddy. They want to ride some of the stuff on the property. They want to do things.
Big Daddy.
It's 4th of July, and the defendant wants the kids to go to bed early. July 4th, 3rd, Tuesday, 4th, Wednesday, 5th, Thursday. The defendant goes to Walmart, checks out around 9:30. Scott spoke with the defendant and Amanda about 11 o'clock that morning. Now she goes and gets some supplies and some things at Walmart. So here's 5th is where it breaks open. Scott has got a connection or connect for some golf clubs. He's going to go to the PGA and get some golf clubs. He sees Amanda up at the house, and so he's driving down his driveway from the barn to leave. And he sees Amanda and some people, goes up and starts talking to him. And defendant was asking, have you seen your dad? And it's got to be sarcastic. And he can be hard on his mom. He talks to her. They kind of go back. He says some things, kind of sarcastically. We talk about where's dad, things like that. And they start looking for him. Now, the defendant starts asking people, are you on the bank accounts or something like that? As in, maybe he's using the funds or the accounts to try to find where he's at. But his Mercedes is at the house. It had been moved. Now, they would say Gary would kind of go away sometimes and just kind of disappear. Now, he was last seen on Tuesday night by someone other than the defendant. So Wednesday, Thursday. Now they're just starting asking, where's he at? They go around the property. At some point, the defendant's behind the burn pile, and she points out to Scott, gets his attention, brings him up there. Something about ghosts. Did you burn ghosts? Scott gets to that burn pile. He was in the military. He's proud he was in the military. He tries to take a leadership role when things break bad, and he finds his own father's remains. He calls 911. You're going to hear it. During this time that's going on, a couple of weeks before this, while the cable guy or something was over at the house, Scott saw a .38 pistol. It was in a leather holster of some sort. And he thinks something's afoot. Foul play. Something's not right. He's suspicious of his mom. You're going to hear how he is. And he starts talking about this missing gun. And people are like, what gun? What are you talking about? He starts talking about this missing gun that was downstairs in the basement. 38. Nobody knows anything about 38 or anything like that. But Scott has a suspicion that something's up. He actually says a statement to the effect of, did my mom finally do something? When he talks to a friend. Now the defense is going to point at Scott. Or other people. But the evidence is going to show it's Melody. No one else. It's her. And what you have to do is follow the evidence. And what does the evidence say? What does it speak? What is the truth? It's not Scott. Law enforcement gets there, they start talking to people, and when they get there, what you're going to see is they get a call to someone in need, emergency services. So they bring the big long back thing you carry people on like a stretcher. They bring all this defibrillator, things like that. They get there. They don't know. They think they're going to find a person by there who had a heart attack or stroke or heat exhaustion or something and pass out.
Big long back.
They get back there and they find nothing but remains. Law enforcement still doesn't really know what's going on in the beginning. They think it was just an emergency. They don't think anything about crime. They start talking to people, and then they realize the conditions of the remains had to burn for a long time. The CSI people at the sheriff's office, they're like, all right, we have to call in an expert, forensic anthropologist, Dr. Gooden. Comes in, and you're going to see what she does. They interview the defendant, they interview Scott, they ask him what's going on. And in the beginning, the defendant, she starts right off the bat talking about, well, Gary had these medical conditions. And then she says his family's got some mental issues. He was suicidal. And she starts laying that foundation of these other things. Any enemies? No. Will the kids do this? No. Anything else? No. Anything missing? No. She's laying the foundation. These are the pictures when law enforcement gets there. Dr. Gooding gets involved. They start marking it. And then things change.
What was that?
When they get the remains of Gary, we're stipulated that these remains are Gary. He's actually identified dental records. He's burned up so bad. When they get there, they find in his rib a 38. They think it's a 380 in the beginning, but it's a 38 special bullet projectile. It's in his left ribs. It's front to back, anterior to posterior. It's in his ribs. So now they think he's medical condition, but he's burned up too bad. Then when they're doing it, that's a bullet. Changes everything. There's no gun. We do not know where the gun is. We look for the gun. The missing gun is evidence of consciousness of guilt. Because if it was a suicide, the gun would be right there. If it's murder, you can't get rid of the evidence. Burn the body, get rid of the gun. Things changed now. It's a homicide investigation. Now, this family had problems, and they had disagreements. You're going to hear about dishes being broken. There's several instances of dishes being broken. One time, when she's talking about dishes, you're going to hear the defendant talking about, I had some dishes on top of the car and they fell off onto the ground and broke. Scott's going to talk about an incident where his mom said some very terrible things about his dad, wishing terrible things upon him when she broke some dishes because she was mad when she went down to the basement where he lived and got the dishes. He spilled Mountain Dew or something like that.
Oh, there it is.
The man loved his Mountain Dew. Loved it. Cigarettes and Mountain Dew.
Well,
she got so mad that she broke the dishes. Slammed them.
They go through a lot of dishes.
Found it in his trash can. A set of dishes. When she's talking, the defendant is kind of all things to all people. That's what the evidence is going to show you. It's going to pivot. It's going to pivot. You're going to hear about two people in this case that pivot. She pivots. She's talking. She's smart. She knows what's going on. They're asking questions. She says, at one point, their marriage is not good. They live in the same household, but they're not living really as husband and wife. There are some good times. They try to do some stuff. They're living in separate rooms, separate floors. But at one point, she comes across and they ask, you've been married to him for 38 years, and if it's that bad, you'll hear about how she describes the marriage and things. Why did you stay with him? I took a vow to him. I took a vow.
I thought he said I took a Valium.
The evidence is going to show in this case that the
one way to
defendant is loyal to two people. Very loyal. She's loyal to a man. There's something called prior difficulties. About 10 years before the murder, the defendant had an affair, we believe, with a guy named Ted Wiley.
We believe.
Ted was in a relationship with Gary's sister.
You're just going to throw his name out there on them? We think it was this guy?
They met, they hung out, and they started doing stuff, and the family knew what was going on. They separated, we believe because of this. Gary considered divorce, didn't do it. They reconciled, but they lost trust. And this is where things change. The whole relationship changed because of this. Now, Gary worked with a lady, probably had a fling or something with her, not to the same degree, years ago.
Not to the same
so
degree.
they both had their issues.
Are they degrees of flings?
But the degree and the extent and the blatantness of this changed everything. And Gary started controlling finances. Her mindset was, to law enforcement, I took a vow to him. But you're going to hear evidence in a text message between her and another guy that would shrink the world and rule out. A guy that's a neighbor that met her when she would walk, because she would walk all the time. She's tough. In a text message, when she was upset with Gary, we believe, she said, my response to his fit he threw was, I hope you die alone in a gruesome death.
Good night, honey. Love you.
She's asked by law enforcement, she didn't say anything about hoping he died or anything like that. Terry responds and says, there you go. He's going to push you over the edge. I know, and that scares me. Told him 5 weeks ago where could not even see or hear him. It would be in his best interest. You're going to see some text messages and things in this. She portrays this, pivots. But an ever constant in their marriage, tension, an ever constant tension is money. She did not like that Gary would use his money the way he did. It's referred to sometimes by people as the Ferris wheel because there was drama. And there was definitely drama. Chris had his issues. Melody didn't really like Chris. Chris would use checking account numbers and credit card numbers and things like that. And he had paid for, coming up to this point, he had paid for a beach vacation. I think we were in a condo or something like that. And Melody was furious. She did not like that Gary was just going to go with him. And Gary basically he'd say stuff, but he'd write the check or he'd say, okay. He wouldn't really do anything. It's his kids, his sons. He could afford it. She'd say things like, this is the last straw. I've had it, I'm taking measures. It shows that her mindset is this money, this money, this money. And that leads to this. bullet in his ribs. They go in the house and look at the house. These are steps going down to the basement. There's blood. There's going to be evidence of blood and cleanup in the kitchen. Her domain. Down the steps. When you get off those steps, if you take off those steps, you can see it. Scott saw some blood on the floor down there. Law enforcement saw it. They go back and spray Blue Star, this chemical stuff that lights up, and you'll see it. You see those 4, 3, 2, 1 placards there? It's a trail of blood. I've circled this so you can see. Down there is a sofa. There's an ottoman, I believe is the term. And as you get closer, law enforcement found another bullet.
Ooh.
We do not know how many times Gary was shot. We know he was shot and killed. We know there are at least 2. The blood trail from the kitchen up there, we believe the evidence is they had an argument. She shot him. He goes downstairs trying to get away. She shoots him again. Whether he was able on his own to get out those doors or she got him out herself. Top to bottom. No home invasion. No robbery. Nothing.
And she dragged him
That
out to the
brings
burn
us
pile.
to what we call means, motive, and opportunity. How do you get away with a murder if there's no confession? How do you get away with a murder if there's no video of it? How do you get away with a murder if you try to burn and destroy all the evidence? You don't. When you use your common sense and all the evidence to put it together to shrink the world, and the only reasonable answer is she did it. For example, if they say Scott did it, Scott's not going to shoot us dead when he's paying all the bills. It's a gravy train.
Or he wants the inheritance.
Let's first talk about opportunity. The reason why you shrink the world down, and you will see at the times in this case, when he was killed and when his body was moved, when things are going on, the only person that's going to be at that house, the only person is her. No one else. Just her. Sure, people were coming and going, but not when things were going on. The other thing you consider is sometimes in the case, with strong evidence is deception, mendacity. When you see that, she's cloaked in lies. And you'll see it through the trial. The evidence will show that. Here's the thing she says about fires. The context, the common sense, the circumstantial evidence. Gary liked to set things on fire. He liked to burn stuff. I think about 2008, they had another house, Alpharetta, that they moved from to the farm. He set, I think, the backwoods on fire or something at night. Caught on fire. She hated that with understandable concern. That's dangerous. People are scared of fires. I get it. She's concerned about that. And then in the same house before this murder in 2016, I believe, he set the house on fire from the basement up, smoking cigarettes in the trash can, left them there, and they caught the house on fire. She went after him. She is strong-willed. She has a backbone. She's tough-minded. And she would tell him how she felt. She told investigators things like this. I tried to put together some of the things you'll hear. She had gotten so scared of fire after that. She had been just scared of the fire. She was scared to death. She figured Gary would burn her house down. They just didn't leave him here much alone because he would, I think she said, break a steel trap or something like that. She told Gary, don't leave the fire. She told Gary, please don't leave the fire. She told Gary when discussing dinner that he cannot go off and leave that fire. She told Gary, you got to watch the fire. She said there's no reason with him. He's a lawyer. He was going to burn it or die trying. Slip of tongue, but that's what she said. That was the opportunity. It's going to be her. Means. Means is how could you have done it? Because the question you're going to have in your mind that's going to boil down to this case is how did that little lady get that big man on the burn pile?
Yeah.
She's a cowgirl, farm girl. Her daddy owned a hardware store growing up. She's been around it. She had ropes, leads, straps. tow lines. Did I mention they had a tractor?
Ooh, bring the tractor in the house to drag him out that way?
Means. Necessity is the mother of all inventions. You just commit a murder, you'll be motivated if you have the means. Did I also say tell you they had an RTV?
No, you didn't tell us that part. You skipped that part when you should have said
You know I was driving a boat. Wednesday morning, Scott leaves to go play golf about 7 o'clock that morning. She doesn't leave to go to the lake till around 12 something. No one's in the house. She comes back that night and tells the kids they go to bed early. Motive. In my business, there's nothing new under the sun. You don't have to be smart to be an attorney. You have to have common sense.
Soundbite.
And when it comes to motive, the question you're going to have is, one is, how does she get him out there? That's answered. Evan's going to answer that. Why did she do this? Why would a wife, even for a husband she doesn't like, he has money? Well, she didn't inherit intestate succession. She gets stuff under Georgia law. Even if he died of an accident, she'd probably get more money. Motive. Let me introduce you to a person called Rusty. Law enforcement trying to figure out what's going on. They're at the house, they get consent, things like that. They search her purse and they find, the things you think you find in a purse, but they find this bank card, credit card, debit card, whatever it is, his financial card. And they find the name Roy Barton on it. And so they're asking him, hey, who's Roy Barton? Well, she says, my cousin, Martha Jane, was married to Roy Barton years ago. In fact, in 2014, that's when this kind of starts off. But she doesn't mention Rusty. She's playing it off as Roy Barton Sr. And he's died. And I just had that, forgot it was there, something along those lines. The Rusty Barton, though, it's not Sr., it's Jr. And he's a character. He's reluctant. He's talking about the evidence going to show he's going to change. You're going to be introduced to Rusty Barton, who's from Tennessee, and we're bringing him in. I do not know what he will say on that stand. I know what he said in the past, and he's flip-flop. That's what the evidence is going to show.
You're going to put him on the stand?
But you're going to be able to use the law, which is called prior inconsistent statements. You're going to be able to judge when he said this, and when he says this, and when he says this, what do you believe? A little background on Rusty. He knew them since teenagers. I think he knew her when she was 15. Martha Jane, which is her second cousin, but more like a mother figure. She loves Martha Jane. Martha Jane's a good woman, a godly woman. Martha Jane loves the defendant. They were married to Rusty's father. So Martha Jane and Roy Sr. were married. Rusty and the defendant became romantic in about 2014. She was up there helping her, Martha Jane. I think she had open heart surgery. In fact, Rusty actually took Martha Jane to Emily's wedding. Up close and personal. The affair was going on for about 4 years, 2014, 2018. And after. Gary knew about it. There's an email he received that put him on notice about from Rusty's girlfriend. You're going to hear him ask questions about Rusty talking to her, telling her, don't do that. Rusty did internet searches about wedding rings when law enforcement was talking to him. They would rendezvous in Dalton, which is about halfway from Tullahoma, Tennessee, and Alpharetta. Almost halfway exactly. Exit 333. They'd meet up there. In the beginning, it was monthly, several weeks ago, and then it became weekly. She would just disappear. The family knew what was going on. They had suspicions, but they didn't realize who Rusty was until this broke. They kind of have a 6-month plan. Rusty believed, based on what the defendant was telling him, according to Rusty, that Gary had some esophagus cancer or something, bleeding, something going on, so he was sick and he was going to die. And they kind of had this plan after Gary passed away. Naturally, they would, for 6 months, lay low, and then they would come back and get together. They were in love. They talk like junior high kids in love for the first time, all the time. They had a regular pattern. Law enforcement interviewed Rusty on certain occasions. There's these days where Rusty was interviewed and basically goes from, I don't know anything, and then they press him. We told you in a trial like this, it can be a contact sport. The attorneys can get after it. We can get after it. I can get after it. And they get after it with Rusty. I'll be professional. But they did the good cop, bad cop with Rusty because he didn't want to give up on Melody. And you're going to hear how they talk to him about this is a death penalty case. You can be arrested for this. You can be, what side do you want to be on in the courtroom? All techniques law enforcement use to have someone talk. He talks to them. And they use him in the sense of they would get information from him and then he was willing to cooperate and record some calls and some things like that. But look at this pattern here. He talked for some time. And in June of 2019, he recants something he told law enforcement in July 2018. And y'all familiar with the first 48 hours? In law enforcement, in this business, you get to someone as quickly as they can because if there's time, they will change. Feelings change. In the beginning, he says one thing, and then he gives up more and more. It's like pulling teeth. You finally get it out. But he recants. And this is what he recants. The evidence in the case is going to show that when you shrink the world to the only person that had the motive was her. The only person that was home when this could have occurred. Tuesday evening, going in from Tuesday the 3rd to Wednesday the 4th, about 2 o'clock in the morning, law enforcement talks to Rusty and says, all right, what did she say? And he describes it as the last minute, the last conversation. This is what he tells law enforcement. She said, Gary's in the burn pile. No. She said, he is in the burn pile. And I said, what? And she said, he is in the burn pile. I said, do not say another word and do not tell me anything. I do not need to know that. This is what, before the murder's known, anything like that, he's on the phone. The record's going to show that he had 3 or 4 main phone calls during this time. It's going to show that his pattern when he would talk to her was abnormal for this time. There's a phone call, and he says, I talked to her. And this is what she said. He's in the burn pile. This would have been July 4th. Now he comes back a year later and recants. Well, his presence and companionship is with the defendant. Law enforcement goes, gets arrest warrants, goes up to Tullahoma, Tennessee to arrest her, and guess who she's with? Rusty. After she's arrested, she's in jail before she bonds out. There's actually jail calls.
Got jail calls too.
And you're going to hear some of those. And we told you there's going to be calls and things like that. And you're going to have to be patient with us. It's going to be a lot of information. It's just a piece of this puzzle. But at the end of the day, it's going to show the defendant. So his past is being arrested. He recants to law enforcement. Oh, she didn't say that. I was pressured. I was under duress. I was taking sleeping pills. I was under alcohol. And then she's talking to him on a phone call. And this is just a part. Now, you're going to hear the whole thing later on. But this is what we call consciousness of guilt. The evidence is going to show that she says this, and this is not what an innocent person would say to her lover.
Sure.
No. Well, like a long time ago, I just stopped talking.
Right.
I haven't done anything.
I know that, Norman.
It's because what you keep talking about, you're going to single-handedly hang me.
Speak the truth.
Whoa.
This is what the charges. Malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, concealing death of another, and making false statements.
He said all that in 3 syllables.
We are here because Gary cannot be here. And the only reason we're here is by her hand. Malice murder is the unlawful killing of somebody with malice aforethought. It doesn't mean someone's wicked in that sense, or malice in the sense that is hatred or things like that. It is the unlawful intent to kill. And the judge is going to charge you on that. One shot could be felony murder if they're fighting and she just reacts. 2 shots and burning. It's depraved. Felony murder, the evidence is going to show that even if she didn't intend to, with malice, to kill him, that intent to kill, that she had that gun in it, just went off. Not the case because she shot him twice.
That's a revolver, too.
That's still felony murder. It's not the intent to kill. It's the intent to do the underlying felony, which is aggravated assault. Pointing the gun at someone or shooting them, and they die. Even if you didn't mean for them to die, it's still felony murder. There's no malice involved. There's no intent to kill. Ag assault is just the shooting. Concealing death of another. The law is designed to prevent certain conduct, and the case that you have before you shows what it's designed to prevent. Not only was Gary Ferris murdered, and he has friends and family that watch this, that are here, but they were deprived of him. Because she burned him up. False statements because she lied to law enforcement about Russell. Y'all forget about all this out here. My job, representing the district attorney, is to present this case to you without fear, favor, or affection. Your job, under your oath, is to speak the truth. I talked to you about veritas. You see the word verdict. It's truth, speak. It's the word veritas with dit in Latin, to speak. When you're done with this case, take all the time you need. Forgive me when I bumble through things, when I get sideways, when I'm doing my job. But remember, I am representing a voice that has been snuffed out and taken away. And Megan Frankis and I are going to present you with the evidence. And there's 2 sides to the truth. That is, where you see the deceit and the lies in this case. That points to who did it. When you see the opportunity, the means, and the motive, money, sex, new life.
Mountain Dew.
The truth. As sad as it is, as hard as it is that the defendant murdered and desecrated her own husband.
That's right.
Would this be a good time for a break, or?
I'm going to let y'all go, and then we'll break after that. Reset.
Okay, now we hear the defense
Everybody
side of
break.
things.
I got one taker. All right. We'll go ahead and take a break. It'll be, if one of you are going to, then all the dominoes will fall, so it'll be 10 minutes. So we'll go ahead and take a break. That's fine. All right. They started it a little earlier.
All right. Okay, so we got through the... What do you guys think of this? Holy cow. This one has all the details. All the tea is going to be spilled here. We have what I can only describe as a dysfunctional family that doesn't talk to each other. It seems to be a business arrangement more than anything else. That they just... It's all about the money and who pays for what and who gets to buy what and who earns what. We've got a marriage of 38 years that clearly was troubled with what I...
All right, we'll take 10.
All right, we're taking 10 minutes. Here we go. With what I understand to be affairs on both sides, one apparently to a higher degree than the other, if there is such a thing, yet they stayed together because they took a a vow. Sorry, slip of the tongue there. We've got, let me just show you. We're going to go back really quickly to the family photo that we saw early on. Okay, let's see what we have here. We looked around the house. No, it was before then. Okay. Okay, family photo. Here we go. Look at the size between you've got sons on the outside. Those are the two sons. What, Ted and Scott or something like that? Scott's on the left. Is it a Ted on the other? I don't know. Bill, Ted. I don't know which one the other one is. Next layer in, the only other guy in the picture other than the two sons, that's Gary. Gary's a big guy. And now look at the defendant, Melody, standing there in front of Gary. She, on a good day, the top of her hair reaches his shoulder. Look at the size of her hand compared to the size of his hand. She is a fraction of what he is. And I would say 300 pounds is probably well within the realm of where he was. She dragged him out with the tractor. She used a horse, a saddle, and a lasso. She scooped him up and put him on top of the burn pile with the tractor bucket. How did she get him out of the house? Why are they not? I don't know. Got 2 bullets. They're 38. They said 38 special, right? I don't know of many 38 special semi-automatics. I believe it would be a revolver, which would require a separate trigger pull for each shot, and it's usually a little more significant of a pull than the separate pulls for a semi-automatic, as far as the weight goes, which would mean each shot was intentionally fired, or at least one of them was. One might have been accidental, but the second one was intentional, or vice versa. Now, they're probably both intentional. Dragged him. Rusty helped. Somebody had to help here. There's got to be somebody else out here who knows more, because I'm not seeing this. Tiny but fierce. Why is it that he earned all the money and is taking control of the finances, but the state says it was her house? I'm so confused. He's a big guy. Big dude. The size difference between the two of them is just... wow. Okay, let's skip ahead a little bit. We'll look at some of the farm pictures again. We'll pause on these. As far as the property goes, looks pretty good size. I'm going to put that 10 to 15 acres, maybe more, 20 acres just in the cleared area. The house is good size. That's on probably half an acre there as well. Got the pond. Yada, yada, the house itself. This is looking straight on, and then if you move like 45 degrees to your right, that's this picture. So this one turns to the right. Now you're looking at the side of the garage there on the left. You've got the deck out back. So he was downstairs. Do we have pictures of the back door? Not sure if we got pictures of the back door. There's downstairs. Nice house. Nice study. Library. Looks impressive. Love libraries with like wraparound bookshelves like that. Kitchen. That's the downstairs. That's like the man cave kitchen. Another view. I'm trying to see where the doors are on the bottom. Those are the 3 days. 38 special. Okay, here we go. Got this picture. Down the stairs. There's blood going down the stairs, which would indicate his body's down there. Downstairs, there's more blood on the floor. They also found this bullet on the floor, 38 special. That was also downstairs. It would indicate his body was down there. So she didn't, there's no way she dragged him up the stairs. Okay, that's not going to happen. You're not bringing the tractor in the house. You're not riding a horse in the house. What was the other one? That's not going to fit. That's not going to fit. Although he would fit in the bucket. That could lift him for sure in the bucket. Could have been a small horse. It's not a question of where he grips. It's a simple question of weight ratios. You can get a horse in a house. She brought a horse in, saddle and all. I don't know if she's in custody. She might be on bail. She seemed to get up and move on her own without bailiffs there. So, now my backstory, just thinking about that as well. Kids, no riding in the house. How many times have I told you? Dr. On Call, I like that. So downstairs is ground floor. If it has a ground floor exit, which it probably does, then all she needs to do is sort of move the furniture so there's a clear path between wherever the body is on the floor and the door. And then just hook up a rope long enough to the back of the tractor that you just hook it up and then drive. But there should have been drag marks. Okay, a 300-pound body being dragged across the floor, being dragged across the yard, dragged all the way up to the burn pit, and then the scooped up. There should be all sorts of tractor marks. There should be scoops. I don't know if she was like, you know, as good as like D18 on heavy equipment, if you know that YouTube channel. The guy can open like a can of soda with a 20-ton tractor. But there should be marks. There should be like scoop marks and tires and tread and everything else. It's the Brady Bunch. It's the Brady Bunch meets the Addams family after a messy divorce. That's what we have here. Shore Life's like, hang on, just wait. We're going to get there. Oh, my goodness. All he wanted was a Mountain Dew and a little bit of peace and quiet so we could sleep with a CPAP in the basement. And this is good. It makes me feel normal. Boone starts next Monday with jury selection after the hurricane. Hopefully there's not too much cleanup there and they'll be able to get back to normal life soon. And we got a Walmart, too. In front of the Walmart. We got Walmart that came in there. She went to Walmart to get something. Please tell me, every Walmart films every cash register. We have to be able to get footage of what she got at the Walmart. We know the time she checked out. Okay. All right. We're going to skip the break because we can. We'll skip some of it because we're a little bit behind. Because I paused. All right, here we go.
Ching's coffee that he made in my French press. And I'm going to be flying for the rest of that.
Judge is drinking coffee from the French press. Defendant found that funny.
All right, go ahead and bring him in. I went ahead and sent them down to get coffee and told our smoker she'd go take a break. So.
We've got American doors and French doors in this cabin. You're just chilling? We're gonna skip this part too. I'm sorry. Oh wait, no, here they come. They're coming in. We're gonna see everything. Sorry, you want to see that as well, huh? Farm girls are a tough breed. Been throwing hay bales. What's a 300-pound body? Just probably took that in one arm and the gas can in the other. Made one trip out of it. Farm is 10 acres. She's out on 250. Not bad. I said 10 to 15 on the acres, right? 10 to 20. Oh, no, I was close. It was within my spread. Maybe she slammed a Mountain Dew first and then did
go
it.
ahead. Mr. Weaver, as y'all recall, he did more dire, so I didn't get to talk to you too much. We kind of broke it up. He got stuck with that task in lieu of me doing opening statements. So my name is Michael Ray. Along with John Luke Weaver, we're representing Mr. Ferris. Thank y'all for your service. I know that a 3 or 4 a 3 or 4 week long trial is not how you anticipated spending your beginning of fall. So we do appreciate that, and we have worked quite diligently. I've had this case for 6 years now, of trying to whittle it down to what is the most important pieces of evidence to show to you and to present to you, so that you can make a decision in this case. So I don't think we're going to go beyond 4 weeks. It could get done as early as 3, but it might go into 4. But we're definitely going to try to get it moving as quickly as possible. For your jury service, Abraham Lincoln said that one of the greatest services of a citizenship is jury duty. And I think that's very true. It's the equivalent, in my opinion, of voting. Because without you, 16 people we have, or if it was in state court, the 6 people we would have, without you, we couldn't do this. We couldn't do our job. Justice couldn't be done. Justice couldn't be done for Melody without you. So thank you for serving. When you act as a juror, or when you're sitting as a juror, in this particular case, and in all cases, you are essentially the conscience of the community. Because you're going to hear this evidence, then you're going to apply it to the law that the judge is going to give you, and you're going to render a decision. Because if you recall, when Judge Cannon was going over the oath with you that he read to you last thing, I know you've taken a lot of it. You took one downstairs when there was 120 of you, and then you took another one when you came in your jury panel, and then you came in with the 16 of you and you took another oath. But in that oath that you took an oath to give a truth verdict according to the evidence. And that's what we're asking you to do. And you heard the judge say that it's your duty to render a truth verdict based on the evidence. And that's exactly what we'll be asking you to do. Now, Mr. Fogus, he did a good job in his opening statement. So some of the things are duplicated because obviously when he came in, he didn't know what I was going to say. And when I came in, I didn't know what he was going to say. But I don't want to sit there and regurgitate the same things. But we got to talk about a few things. That one being the indictment. Mr. Fogus did a great job going through explaining it. So just kind of to recap what Ms. Ferris is charged with. 1, malice murder. That is essentially, to keep it simple, and we'll go over it much deeper at the end when the judge actually gives you the charge. And then we get to argue. What malice murder is, somebody's alive, and I don't want them alive. And they're dead. That's malice murder. Felony murder, I commit a felony act, and it causes that person's death. Like you're trying to rob somebody, you accidentally shoot them, felony murder. That's what it is. In this case, the felony is the aggravated assault. The state alleges that Ms. Ferris shot her husband, Gary Ferris. And that was an aggravated assault. And as a result of that assault, he died. So that's how felony, murder, and aggravated assault are linked together. Concealing the death of another is pretty obvious. There's a little more depth to it when you actually look at the actual elements of the offense, but you can imagine what that is. Somebody has passed away, and you have concealed it. Making false statements, that's lying to the police. We always say defense attorneys can lie to you, but you cannot lie to the police. It's actually a crime. So, this case, and you've heard a little bit of it from Mr. Fogus, but you've probably seen on your crime show, because I know from Bordier, a lot of you watch the podcast, the crime shows, the true crime and all that. And you always see defense attorneys talking a lot of time about there's been a rush to judgment in this case. Rush to prosecute the first person that you can get your hands on. Now, that wasn't this case. Melody was under investigation in this case for over almost a year between the 911 call that you're going to hear shortly and her arrest on June 18th of 2019. So there wasn't a rush to judgment, but what we had in this case was different. It was called confirmation bias. And we'll talk more about this in close, but what a confirmation bias is you got a belief and you've got facts. And that belief and those facts merge together. And that's what you believe. Even though you have all of these other facts over here, you just ignore those facts because that's not in your belief. And that's not in the facts that you want to look at. And that is a confirmation bias. You're going to see from the evidence in this case, from day one, the investigation by Detective Hayes and all of the other officers in Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, even the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, everything that was done in this case was tailored specifically to attempt to convict Melody of the death of Gary Ferris. One big thing you're going to hear, and you're going to hear it a lot, is Scott Ferris. You are going to hear the 911 call here shortly. That's the first thing we're going to do. I'm going to play you the 911 call. 13 minutes after law enforcement arrives, Scott Ferris is already blaming his mother. He knows nothing. They're not even sure if there is a body on the burn pile. They're not even sure it's Gary. He's already planting the seeds of blaming his mother. 13 minutes. And law enforcement took that into their beliefs. And then they focused their evidence on that. And that is confirmation bias. Now, you heard Mr. Fogus talk about the Ferris wheel, and I talk about it too. That this was a turbulent family. The best is, and we'll go through, I have a family tree to go over with you that kind of lays everybody out. But one of them, his name's Chad Bruce. He is now married to Amanda. And Chad Bruce, when he was interviewed, he said, I always called it the Ferris wheel. It's like a soap opera. Something is always going on with Chris, Scott, and Emily. And it's true. All the time. All the time. And I'll talk a little bit more about it. But you're going to see text messages. Gary mad that they're blowing money. Chris can't survive on his own, always needing money. Scott, a grown man, can't survive on his own, always needing money. Coming to get mama's credit card so he can go get some money out. Emily with her turmoil with her new husband and all that. In fact, you're also going to hear that Gary and Melody had to buy Emily and her husband the house up in Tennessee where they live. There was a lot of turmoil in this family. But jumping on the Ferris wheel, first off, who is Melody? Melody was born in 1960. And she was born in Smyrna, Tennessee. And she had a somewhat unusual upbringing, especially for that point in time. Melody was very little, and they moved from Smyrna and moved to Tullahoma. You already heard a little bit about Tullahoma. It's actually where Melody was arrested. That's where Martha Jane lives. That's where Rusty lives. And I'll talk a little bit more about all those people. They moved to Tullahoma, and Melody and her mother, Kay, lived with Melody's grandparents. And that went on for a few years, and eventually Kay Walker met a man named Carl Walker, and they got married. And then they continued, once they were married, they bounced around a little bit. They went from Tullahoma to Nashville, Nashville to Florence, Florence back to Nashville, just kind of bouncing around this North Alabama, Central Tennessee and back down area, just moving around. Then when Melody was a teenager, they finally settled in Florence, Alabama. It's in the north. You've probably heard of Muscle Shoals. It's right there. And that's where eventually Melody started going to high school, was in that area. And so now you're like in the mid-70s, and that's actually when Melody meets Gary Ferris. They met when they were 16 years old. They didn't go to the same high school. They actually met through mutual friends at the same church, and they began dating. And they dated through high school, and then in 1970, they got married. So 1960, or I'm sorry, I think it was 79, they got married. Because I think Melody was 19 years old. Now, they get married, right out of high school, and they both go to the University of North Alabama. Melody's there for about a year, and then she drops out. Gary stays on. So Melody leaves. They're still together. They're still married. And she's working at General Electric Credit and Ace Hardware. Her Kay Walker, her mother, Carl Walker, opened up a Ace Hardware in Florence, Alabama. And that's where Melody worked. And you'll hear a lot about Ace Hardware. She worked there for many, many, many years, helping them out with their business. So in 1980, while Gary's still in school, Chris Ferris is born. Now Melody is working full-time at this point at the hardware store. Gary's full-time college student. 1983 rolls around, Scott Ferris is born. Melody's still working at the hardware store. Gary's still going to school. Now you fast forward a little bit, Gary's graduated, and in 1988, they have Emily. And at this point, they've moved to Tuscaloosa to the University of Alabama. And that's where Gary goes to law school. So they're living there with the 3 kids while Gary's in law school. And then in 1989, Amanda Ferris, who's now Amanda Bruce, she's born. Excuse me.
You're excused. That was disgusting. Right
in 1989, the following year, Gary graduates law school, and the family moves to Birmingham, where he works for Burr & Forman, the same firm that he was at when he passed away. Now, in 1995, the law firm sent Gary to Atlanta. They were trying to expand, have a different office in Atlanta, and Gary was going to be a major part of that. And I think when he actually first got there in 95, there was only him and another person there. It wasn't, this huge law firm, at least here in Atlanta, at that point in time. So 95, you got 4 kids, really ranging from kindergarten to Chris at that point in time being about 15 years old. Melody's a stay-at-home mom. She's going back and forth to Florence to help her parents with the hardware store and just living. And an interesting point then comes later in 1997 to Melody is Carl Walker, who she thought was her father, passed away. And while she was at the funeral, a relative came up to her and told her that, just so you know, Carl Walker's not your father.
At the funeral she found out?
Then that leads on to her trying to figure out who her actual father is. And she does. But Carl raised her. It's just an odd thing, to kind of come out of the blue in 1997 at his funeral.
Yeah.
Now in 2013, it's kind of the next major event. That is when Gary and Melody buy the Purcell Lane house, where
that secret to
you
his
saw
grave.
the photos and Mr. Fogus's opening of the house. That's when that was purchased, 2013. They move in there, and when they get there, shortly thereafter, Scott moves in to the apartment that is above the barn. Now, all the kids, they also have kids and wives that are relevant to this case. And Scott was married to Jenna. And her name was Jenna Ferris. Since Gary's death, my understanding is they have divorced. She has changed her name. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. I haven't talked to her to figure out how she pronounces it. But that is, Jenna Ferris was her name. Chris also has other children by another woman, and that is Ella Ferris and Addison Ferris. Ella, at the time in July, the 3rd, 4th, 5th of 2018, she was over at her friend Emma's house. And Addison was over at Melody and Gary's house on the 5th. On the 4th. She came over after the lake. And I'll go through the timeline. Emily, this is Chris Payne. With the prior difficulties of the family, Chris Payne was a little bit of that.
We're coming to all
Amanda
the
was married to Chad. Chad's the one I was telling you about. He's the one who talked about the Ferris wheel and about how there's always something going on, and basically this family is like a soap opera. That is Chad. And Chad also has a daughter by another woman, and her name is Cameron Bruce. Cameron is who was there with Addison on the 4th. Now, let's talk about the timeline. So, you already heard a lot about the burn pile. So, Gary did start the burn pile on July 3rd. Okay, we know that. That's a fact. Also, a couple of other interesting things happened. Addison and Cameron don't live in Georgia. All right? Those are Chris's children. Or Ella and Addison do not live in Georgia. They live in Maine. On July 3rd, they flew in to Hartsville-Jackson. Chris went and picked them up, and they drove up. They came to Melody and Gary's house. Ella had already been dropped off at Emma's house, and Addison came with Chris to see Melody and Gary. And they see both Melody and Gary. Now it is, and I'll go into it more here in a moment, there is some contention about what Addison says how the house was on the 4th, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Now on the 4th, that is when Melody goes to Lake Lanier. We actually, you'll see, and the evidence will show that we've got a parking receipt. I actually got two things. We've got a parking receipt from Lake Lanier that shows the time that she went in. And there's also a ATM slip that was in her card that we got photographs of to show that her withdrawing money, and that was on the 3rd. And we'll talk about those here more in a minute. July 4th, that is when Addison and Cameron spend the night at the house. Now, Cameron and Addison, the evidence show they have two different versions of events about how it was. Addison's more, it was kind of weird. Melody didn't want us to go outside. She made us go to bed early. Cameron will testify that they did go outside. They went and saw the horses. Nothing was weird. We actually snuck out of the house at 10 o'clock, went to the hot tub, were in the hot tub for a while, came back
some marshmallows on the burn pit.
Nothing really out of the normal.
No.
The reason, you'll also see that some evidence from Addison. There's a text message to Melody from Addison that says, hey, can we spend the night tonight on July the 3rd? And Melody responds, says, no, not tonight. And we'll have to uncover the reason for that, do the evidence. I don't want to speculate here as to what that was. But we do know that that is true. She said, no, not tonight. And she spent the night the following night after they got back from Lake Lanier. On July 5th, that is where things with this case get interesting. The remains are found on the burn pile.
Now it gets interesting.
Now, that day started, Melody grocery shopping, the kids are there. But to sum it up, what it's really going to show is the girls wanted to ride the RTV. Melody says, go downstairs and ask your grandpa. They called him Big Daddy. Go downstairs and ask him. He's not there. I don't know where he is. So they start looking for him. Eventually, Amanda comes over because what originally the plan was is Melody, Amanda, Addison, and Cameron, they were going to have a day together. They were probably going to go eat lunch. They had talked about potentially going to get their nails done, and basically just having a girls' day together. Now, when Amanda got there, they all began looking around the house. Can't find it. Gary's nowhere to be found. His car's still there. But none of this is super out of normal. Gary was a workaholic. Sometimes he would take Uber so he didn't have to drive. He essentially would be gone, for days. He may come home, he may not. And we'll get into their relationship here in a minute. So no alarms were really raised at this point. Now, Scott comes over, and that's where things do get interesting. When Scott gets there, he comes in the house and immediately goes downstairs. After proclaiming to the family something along the lines of, where's the gun? And he goes downstairs, then returns and says, the gun's gone. Now let's talk about this gun. I call it the magic gun, because Scott Ferris is the only person to ever see this gun. There's nobody else, only him. You'll hear evidence that he found it in the drawer while he was looking for a remote to help the DirecTV man. And then he found the gun. He gives a very detailed description of it. And that's it. Nothing else. And this was a few months before July when he had the DirecTV. Actually, I think it was the beginning of June, so about a month before is when Scott sees this gun. And he claims he has no idea. He's never seen this gun before. It's very strange. This gun is here, and he didn't know anything about it. But he also didn't do anything about it. Now, 6 years later, this is where Jenna Ferris kind of comes in and is interesting. 6 years later, she gives an interview to the district attorney's office claiming she also saw a gun in the basement that you saw in Mr. Focus's opening, where Gary was. However, this gun looked completely different than the one Scott described and is in a completely different location than where Scott said it was. So these are the only two people that have seen this gun, and the guns they described don't even match each other, and one of them talked about it 6 years later. Now, after Gary's remains were found, he was taken down to Georgia Bureau of Investigation Forensics Department to the crime lab, and that's where an autopsy was performed. But after July 5th, 2018, 348 days go by. Melody's not arrested at this point. She's interviewed several times. I believe the evidence will show that, or I believe that the state will be playing those interviews for you, so you'll actually see Melody testifying and answering law enforcement questions. But 348 days pass. Now in that 348 days, you'll see evidence that they were doing audio testing. What that was is they put a ballistics dummy in the living room of the house, and they shot it with a revolver. And they had
You serious?
Members of the Cherokee Marshal's office, as well as some sheriff's office, out there with decibel readers at different points. They were out at the barn, they were out by the road, and they were also in the house, measuring what the decibel was for firing this revolver into this ballistic dummy. And then they moved the dummy downstairs, and they shot it a bunch of times downstairs. And you're going to see all this. They're going to play all the videos of them doing the shooting and recording the sounds and all that. Diving in the lake, you're going to see they brought out the Cherokee Sheriff's Department to dive into the lake to see about where the gun was.
That was
Didn't
just
find
a
anything.
beach day at the pool.
Recording Melody's phone calls. And we'll talk more about this momentarily. Rusty, because you already heard about him, agreed with Detective Hayes that he would put some kind of app on his phone and record all their phone calls. And he did, for months. You're going to hear a lot of those. Also, during that 348-day time, Scott and Chris are interviewed several times. Sometimes Scott and Chris are interviewed together, at least on one occasion, and several times Scott is interviewed alone. And then, on June 12th, over 11 months later, the crime lab issues the autopsy report, saying that Gary was the manner of death and the cause of death. Well, the cause of death was gunshot. The manner of death was homicide. And it took them 11 months to issue that report. You'll see, especially when the forensic pathologist who did the autopsy, when he testifies, they weren't waiting on anything. They knew that it was Gary. The forensic, the dental forensics had already come back. It was already Gary. But for some reason, unknown. And you'll see this happens a lot in this case. There's a lot of unknown, and we'll talk about that. No idea why it took 11 months to issue the autopsy report. No idea. But 6 days later, Melody gets arrested. And Mr. Focus is right. She wasn't in Tullahoma, Tennessee. She was up there with Martha Jane. They called her and said, "Hey, we got an arrest warrant for you." And she came and turned herself in. Nothing to hide. Now, John Luke and I came up with this. We didn't come up with it. He had gone. We were been a long day already, so he was done for the day, so he left. And he went up to the drugstore, and there was a girl in there. And the drugstore, I don't know if our office is in downtown Jasper, There's a Jasper drugstore right on the corner
What is
on
this?
Main Street in Jasper. It's being sold and they're doing renovation. And he went in there and asked them a question about something, and they didn't know. And they go, sometimes the greatest questions go unanswered. And he was like, "Oh, perfect. Brought me out of my slump. Now I know what I'm dealing with." So that's kind of what we've been talking about the whole time with this case, because so many things you're going to be asking yourself so many times in this case. How did this happen?
Whoa.
How did this happen? How did this happen? And nobody knows. You can guess.
Deep thoughts from the
knows.
construction crew at the
So let's
drugstore
talk about
renovation.
some
Is that what
evidence
we have now?
and questions without answers. So evidence, Melody and Gary. It is no fact, I think also. Melody and Gary affairs. It is common knowledge that they had affairs. People knew. You can even, the grandkids, the evidence will show that even they had their suspicions and pretty well knew that, there was, affairs happening. Melody did. Yeah, she was having an affair with Rusty. Gary did. He brought, when they moved here in 1995, Angela Phillips was his secretary. He brought her with him from Birmingham to Atlanta. And she was his secretary for 28 years. And she's a bit hesitant to talk about it, but I believe you'll be hearing from her about how they did have a relationship. Gary was also having a relationship, at least somewhat by text and email, with another woman who worked in his building named Joanne Ward or Joanne Hill. So, and you'll also hear Ted Wiley. Okay, they had affairs. They lived completely separate lives. In the house that Mr. Focus was showing you, in that house, Melody lived upstairs. You saw the house, and it may not be in evidence, but you saw it. That place looks like Southern Living magazine, decorated to the nines. Melody did all that. She lived upstairs. Gary lived downstairs. It was just how they had done it. It had always been that way for years, ever since the 90s. They lived two separate lives. They would sometimes go days without even seeing each other, without speaking to each other. They didn't really talk, didn't really communicate. They did. They had kids. So they had to have some interaction together. They went and saw Emily and Chris's daughter. Her name's Olivia, when she was born. They still did Christmases together. So they did some of these family things together, but for the most part, they were just married people who did their own thing. And Melody did her thing, and Gary did his thing. And it was just what worked for them. Now, granted, with the affairs, it wasn't something that was flaunted in their faces. You try to keep some level of discretion. But it was known. And it was just how they lived. Now, Melody's interviews, I expect that you'll be seeing those interviews. And really, the only thing I want to point out with that is Melody is very blunt, very to the point. She's just who she is. She's a hard woman. And that's how she comes off, and that's how she is with law enforcement. She's very matter of fact. Here's what happened, here's what I was doing. That's just how she is. But one of the most important things that she says in her interview is in the very last interview that she ever gave to law enforcement. Last thing she ever said to law enforcement was, "I just want my family back." Forensics. There's a good bit of forensics in this case. Some is pretty interesting. I want to talk to you. I didn't want to do any of the photographs, but those blood drops that were talked about by Mr. Vogus, you're going to see that there is blood. Well, let me back that up. You will see there is a substance leading down to the basement.
Oops, I said blood.
You're going to hear from the GBI Lane of Coffee. She sprays Blue Star, which is a substance that is supposed to reflect when it's blood. Now, that's a whole other thing. You're not going to hear anything about that being tested, of whose blood it is, even if it is blood. Now, you go down the stairs. They did take a swab, but they find some little drops of blood Some of them are about as small or even smaller than 1 centimeter on the floor. Take a swab of those, send it off. That was Gary's blood. Those blood trails never lead out of the house, upstairs or downstairs. You also, the bullet. We're going to be talking a lot about the bullet, how there's no textiles found on the bullet that is found in the basement. We also have our own forensic pathologist who will be testifying about what his opinion is regarding the manner and cause of death of Gary. And we may also end up calling an additional ballistics expert, depending on how things play out with the ballistics experts are going to testify for the GBI. But that is just a wait and see. Text messages. The text messages to Terry Braswell. Mr. Fogus said that in his opening, the "Hope you die a gruesome death." It is a text message. We expect Terry Braswell to come in here and testify. We'll be able to cross-examine him about that text message. However, we do know one fact, is that text message was sent 2 years before. So it wasn't something that was done in July of 2018 or even June of 2008. Years before. Especially see text message between Gary and Scott about their tumultuous relationship, especially involving money. Gary sending Scott, "I better have my debit card back." Also see money. Melody and Scott, they used to text back and forth a lot. And recorded phone calls. You're going to hear all those calls with Rusty. Now, also with finances. Now, while that house was very nice, and it was like $1 million house, and it's decorated to the nines. And yeah, we've actually got some of Gary's pay stubs, and after taxes, he was bringing home $20,000. Can't remember if it was every 2 weeks or every month. But that home, mortgage to the hilt. Debt high, cash low. Gary stopped working, this family's over. And that's exactly what happened. Gary passes away, you're going to hear, first thing that happens to the house, foreclosed. Didn't have enough money to pay for it. Cars gone. Everything put in storage. So while they made a lot of money, they blew a lot of money. Now Gary did have some good investments. He had a 401k with his law firm. 401k, profit sharing with the law firm, insurance, life insurance, things like that. But you know, all those aren't accessible cash that you can use. So Gary had to keep working to fund this lifestyle. Now, questions without answers. Where was Gary shot? When Dr. Gooding testifies, she's going to have a drawing of a skeleton. And it's going to show the ribs, and it's going to show he was shot somewhere here. Is it the front or in the back? Not going to be able to tell you that. Angles, don't know. No idea. Also, and that's just where was he shot on the body. Where was he shot in the house? The evidence is going to show, while there may be some blood and that was not tested, so we'll call it maybe blood. Upstairs in the in Melody's portion of the house, we'll call it, and a trail leading downstairs to Gary's portion, we'll call it. You're also going to get evidence from, most likely from Amanda, how a few days before July the 3rd, 4th, 5th, that Gary, that Gary had been bitten by one of Melody's dogs on the ankle and was bleeding as he walked down the stairs down to his room so that he could stop the bleeding in his ankle.
Okay, I'm putting a limiter on this. Wow. Years.
But where was he shot? No idea. How was he put on the burn pile? You're not going to hear about that either. You're going to see photographs of tractors. You're going to see photographs of RTVs. Probably of horses too. But you're not going to hear anything about Gary being moved on one of those vehicles. You will hear, though, that there was one drop of blood that was Gary's on the step getting up into the tractor. There's nothing in like the bucket. One drop of blood on the tractor.
All right. Well, that's pretty good evidence.
Where is the gun? Don't know that either. Now, you're going to see photographs of guns. There were guns on the property. There was no .38 found on the property. I think there was an old .32 caliber that was found on the property, but we know that wasn't the gun in question. But what you will find is that Scott has quite a bit of .38 caliber ammunition in the barn. And in fact, he's got it in his bedside table. But yet he claims, and when he testifies, I assume he will be claiming the same thing, that he does not own a .38 caliber pistol. He will claim that he owned a .357 Magnum at one point, but that gun had been stolen years ago, and he didn't have anything that would shoot a .38. Yet he has at least one full box of .38 special ammunition and a loose several other various brands of .38 special in his nightstand. And you'll see all those. You'll see the photographs of those. But where is the gun? No idea. Where are the bullets? They're in Scott's house. Scott's behavior. From the very beginning, like I told you, from the very beginning, Scott is saying, Melody, Melody, Melody. I thought she would do something. Leading law enforcement down this trail. And you're going to see all that. It's going to be very evident of what his intentions are regarding his mother. He does it in his interviews, and he's going to do it on the stand here too. I would suspect that's exactly what he's going to do. But the most important thing is just in that few minutes of getting there, he's already talking about guns being missing that he's the only person that has seen. Then he goes out looking. You're also most likely going to be seeing there's a trail camera that was, if the burn pile was where I'm standing, was kind of, don't exactly know how far, but down closer to the lake. Kind of pointing at, they had a deer feeder down there to take pictures of the animals. And you're going to see that coming up to that camera, for some reason, and I don't think we'll ever get a straight answer, we don't know why those photographs got deleted. Or actually, who actually deleted them. Now we know because they were recovered. So we know what photographs were on them, but we don't know of who deleted them.
Okay. Well, who was on the photos?
Now, you heard the judge talking about, before you took your oath, about what reasonable doubt was. And he said that reasonable doubt was a doubt of a fair-minded and impartial juror honestly seeking the truth. Then he also went on for a little bit and talked about if your minds are unwavering, unsettled, or unsatisfied, that is a doubt to the law. And with that, you should acquit the defendant. So essentially, when you're looking at this case, whenever we had done, when you're evaluating this case and you're evaluating all the evidence, you've got to say, has the state proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt? Now, what a reasonable doubt is that you have a doubt that you can put a reason to. And it's reasonable. It is a reasonable doubt. Now, that is a high burden for the state. Now, I'll go over this and close. I know it's like how it shows that even if the state can get to reasonable doubt, no, that's still an acquittal. That's still not guilty, because they have to go beyond reasonable doubt. And remember, that is just a doubt for which you can put a reason. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you have, like in this case, when you have questions that go unanswered, when we're talking about unanswered questions of how did we get to the burn pile? Where's the gun? Where's the bullets? Where are these simple things that we should be able to find? And why, when we find them, they're in a place that, well, we don't like where that's going. Law enforcement saw the bullets over in the barn. Yet here we are with Melody charged with malice murder, felony murder, ag assault. Nobody heard anything. You're not going to hear anything about this case that Melody heard, or that anybody heard Melody shoot him, or that she admitted to somebody that she shot him. You did hear from, and you'll hear from him again, from Mr. Barton, from Rusty, that he said, Melody said he's on the burn pile. And what Mr. Barton changed, and he'll be under direct and cross-examination in this case, is what he changed. He didn't change what she said. He changed when she said it. So he said, yes, Melody said they found him on the burn pile, not on the 4th. It was on either the 5th or the 6th when she was talking to him saying, hey, they found Gary dead on the burn pile. Rusty didn't change what he said. He told him when he said it. He got it wrong, and he corrected himself. So ladies and gentlemen, when you have unanswered questions in a case like this, really the only answer is not guilty. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Fogos, you got witnesses ready?
Please, Judge. Now, the first one is by agreement of stipulation, Judge.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to change this. There are too many counters. We have 4 for the judge. I think we're going to go back to just counting the judges.
Y'all can decide whether y'all want the mobile lectern to stay there or whether y'all want to get rid of it. The last trial, everybody used both of them. So.
It's good, Judge, if we keep it. The first exhibit is going to be, it's labeled 911-1 for 911 call, and it is July 5th, 2018 at 12:47 p.m. July 5th, 2018 at 12:47 p.m. It's about 2 minutes and 21 seconds, and it's Scott Ferris. And Judge, I tune that evidence this time by stipulation. All right. May I publish it? It's 911 and then 1 in parenthetical.
Okay. Sure would be offered 5 yet. I'm not. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. No, okay.
They're making jokes.
Y'all agree to the foundation and
2155 or so, Blaine. My father has come up missing, and we just searched the property. It's a small farm, and I just found something near the farm that doesn't. He was burning brush. Now there's nothing about that. It could be him. I don't know.
Okay. All right, sir. What's Purcell Lane run off of?
It's right off of Birmingham Road.
You said 2155 Purcell Lane, that's correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is your name?
Scott Ferris, Farris.
What's a good callback number for you, Scott?
404
867-5309.
How old is you said your father?
Yes, sir.
How old is
he just turned 68 on the 68, yeah.
68, okay.
Rebecca, we don't know. We're all listening for the first time.
Now I'm calling you to say that we've been walking around looking for him, and I went where the fire's still smoldering, and I'm ex-military. I was deployed to Iraq. I've seen what burned up bodies look like, and this looks like a body.
Okay. All right, sir. I've got him on the way out there for you. I'm going to send the police and the fire department out there. Just try and lead everything that you can, the way you found it down there, and we've got them on the way out there for you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else I can do for you, sir?
No, that'll be it.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say off Sarah Love. Sarah Love. We're doing that system, so it's just a 911 one. And when you go into
It's explaining to the defense what the numbering system of evidence is. Looks like we're bringing a witness in.
Stand up and stretch.
That was an order.
See right up there, Captain. He solemnly swear affirm the evidence about presented in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat, make yourself comfortable.
Get comfy. Fire captain? Is that what I'm seeing? See a lot of red on that badge.
State your full name for the record.
Sarah Jane Love.
And where do you work and what do you do?
I'm a firefighter paramedic with Cherokee County Fire and Emergency Services.
What's your rank there?
Captain.
Tell the jury how long you've been doing what you do.
Well, I've been a paramedic for 28 years and I've been with the fire department for almost 22.
And what is I know there's paramedics, EMTs, and firefighters. What are they all and how are they different?
So there's an EMTI, which is like a basic, the lowest level you can work on an ambulance, and then an advanced, and then a paramedic.
And do you have a certain area that you work in the county, or is it just, how does that work?
You're typically assigned to a station.
You ever had to testify before at a trial?
I'm sorry?
You ever had to testify before at a trial?
Yes.
And you know why you're here today?
Yes.
I want to turn your attention now back to July 5th of 2018. It was a Thursday. I think y'all responded around right around 12:59 p.m. to the residents in this case. Is that right?
I don't have the date and times in front of me, but yes, we did respond.
Do you remember? Was it midday, afternoon?
Afternoon, I believe.
Okay. If I told you around 1 o'clock, any reason to disagree with me on that?
No.
All right. And do you remember where you went to? Where the property was?
Yeah, it was in the area of Freeholm or Alpharetta.
2155 Purcell Lane in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Yes.
Is that the residence?
It's foundational, but why don't you just testify yourself instead of asking the witness?
Okay.
And this was the Ferris house, is that right?
I believe so, sir.
And was the house where you went and where all this occurred, what county was that in?
Cherokee County.
Do you remember what you got called out for?
We got called out for a person fell into a fire.
Just a person falling into a fire?
Initially, yes, sir.
Now, as you were heading out there, tell the jury just kind of what did you pack up, what did you take, and what did you expect to see?
Well, we responded with the fire truck and the ambulance. I was on the ambulance that day. We were originally dispatched to a person falling in the fire, and then it became a person down call, which means that they need resuscitation.
Means what? I'm sorry.
They need to be resuscitated. They don't have a pulse or not breathing.
As you were going there and going to the scene, what did you think you were going to find?
We were going to find a patient that needed to be resuscitated.
Like a person?
Yes.
Maybe just falling out or something?
Yeah, just from the information, he fell in the fire.
When you got there, do you remember seeing anybody from the family, a son or not?
Yes, somebody met us at the end of the driveway. The driveway was pretty long, so the guys on the fire truck were getting onto the ambulance with us to ride in, and there was a gentleman there at the end of the driveway so that he would show us where the body was at.
Were y'all there first before law enforcement, the sheriff's department?
I believe so, but they wasn't far behind us.
How long did it take you to get there from the call? The call came out about 12:47. Did it take you very long?
I don't believe so. I don't have my report, so I don't know exactly how long.
Was it a short drive?
Fairly short, yeah.
And when you arrived, just kind of tell the jury what you remember seeing and what was going on.
So initially we stopped at the driveway, picked up the, what we found out later was the gentleman's son. He was telling us that he had been in Afghanistan and he had seen burned bodies before and he knew what they looked like, and I was trying to get information about if he was, breathing, if he was alert at the time, or, more information about the patient. And he just kept saying that over and over. And then when we got to the house, he rode in the back of the ambulance. When we got to the house, he walked us around to the back side of the house to a large burn area.
When you first met with, who's going to be Scott, we believe, the son,
Yeah.
when you first met with him, when you were talking to him, were you trying to ask him questions to see if he would answer them?
I was just trying to find out what kind of condition at the time we assumed the patient was going to be in. If we were going to be working a cardiac arrest or just treating a burn patient, or what we were going to find when we got around to the back.
Was that because you thought there was going to be a human being there?
Mm-hmm.
And did you, when you were asking him questions, was his state of mind? Was he telling you stuff? Was he able to tell you things?
He just kept saying over and over that he knew what a burned body looked like, and I was asking more like, was he breathing, and was he conscious? And he just kept saying he knew what a burned body looked like.
Now, may I approach the witness? Go ahead.
I don't have to ask.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Now, we've marked exhibits a little differently in this case. Instead of 1 through whatever it is, we've met and marked them by numbers. Go ahead and take those if you have them. Look at those. You had an opportunity to look at photographs before trial, I believe, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and look at those and see if those. Now, it's going to be labeled aerial, as in aerial photographs. Go ahead and look at 1 through 14.
It's an interesting court. Judge says you don't have to ask permission anymore to approach the witness, which saves a little bit of time. Defense has painted Scott as a possible suspect. I can't wait to hear him testify. Just poring over these pictures.
Okay.
Are those photographs aerial 1 through 14? Do they fairly accurately represent the area that we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Judge, this time I tender to evidence aerial 1 through aerial 14.
What if they're drone pictures or Google Earth?
Judge, after you didn't just publish them without asking permission?
That's fine. Anything we can do.
After I emit them, can I publish them without asking permission? Yes.
You see on your screen there, this is aerial 1. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
If I look at the screen, this is just showing from the courthouse to the scene.
Yes.
Can you tell the jury about how long,
It's just
how many
a map,
miles
sir.
it is, approximately normal drive?
Aerial
how much
photograph.
From the courthouse, 34 minutes and 16 miles.
Time? About 34 minutes or 16 and a half miles, is that right?
With,
sir.
With
And
bad
Purcell Lane,
traffic.
what area of the county is that in, Cherokee County?
That'd be the northeastern corner.
Look at the middle. It's all red because
And
traffic
what is
is
that-
stopped there.
What type of homes and things are out there? Nice homes?
Yes, fairly large homes.
Expensive area?
Yes,
Affluent
sir.
area, I guess is what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
And where were you coming from when you went there?
So where it says Freehome on the map and Highway 20, our station is about very close to Highway 20 at that where you would have turned off of Highway 20. Our station's right there.
This is aerial 2.
This is our first
This
witness,
is
by
showing
the way.
coming down the road, Purcell Lane, as you come down Purcell, and you, was the driveway where you picked up Scott, was that at the kind of right there where Purcell Lane is and the driveway meets?
Yes, sir.
So let me Do you remember the long driveway going up?
Yes.
So did you meet Scott down here or up in the driveway? Where was it?
At Purcell Lane. The fire engine's too big to get down the driveway. So the ambulance stopped there, and the crew from
there's
the
not a fire.
fire truck jumped on the back of the ambulance.
How'd they put out the fire when you lit the house on fire then?
Aerial 3, this is just an overhead Google map showing the property is. How would you describe this property if you could say this is the type of property, this is what it was like?
It's a very large, nice property. Couldn't really see the house at all from the road, from the trees.
It says PP.
It's a very large property.
By the pond.
We've taken some aerials about a year later, some drone photographs that you've been able to review. And this is aerial 4, so this is a snippet, if you would, from an aerial. Does this kind of look like the area that you went to on July 5th of 2018?
Yes, sir. I was more or less looking in the back, talking to the son. So I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the driveway, but yes, sir, that is the...
As we look at aerial 4, this photograph on the left of the screen is this big long driveway. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
As aerial 5, as you move up the driveway, is it correct to say that there's a road or driveway that goes to the right to the barn, but y'all went straight up to the house?
Correct, sir.
And then aerial 6, is this an aerial showing the pond?
Yes, sir.
Is this the house behind the trees here?
It appears to be, yes, sir.
How about that? Aerial
Yes, sir.
7?
Yes, sir, that is the house.
Aerial 8, just another overview. Now, when you parked, and again, this is about a year later, but as you walk, did y'all walk around as where my mouse is on this item that's here, this white item? Did y'all go around this side, this left side, if you were facing the house?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
And then as you came around, did you come over to the back side where the burn pile was?
Yes, sir, we did.
Tell the jury, when you arrived expecting to see a person, when did things change for you? What did you see and what changed it?
As we're walking up to the burn pit, you could see some long bones. I saw a foot and the skull.
And when you saw that, what in your mind was going on? What were you saying to yourself?
I was trying to make sense of it.
Here's
It's not something you would typically see, so I was like trying to, like the skull, I thought maybe it was a rock, so I kind of moved it a little bit and put it back the way I found it. And the foot is probably what stands out the most is the foot.
What equipment did you have with you to expect to find a person?
So the guys from the engine grabbed the bed and the equipment, the cardiac monitor, the jump bag, and they were coming behind me, and me and the son were walking, a little bit ahead of them.
When you got there, what was found and what happened?
Well, when I saw the bones, I advised dispatch that it wasn't a person down. It was a signal 48, which means a deceased person, and then to have the coroner en route.
Did anybody touch the bones or do anything with it?
Only like I said, sir, the top of the skull looked like it may have been a rock, so I kind of lifted it a little bit and then put it back where it was when I realized it was definitely the skull.
So things changed from a person needing help to a body, basically?
Correct.
Remains? Is that
yes, sir.
Fair? Did law enforcement, were they quickly on the scene at that point? Did they come up?
Yeah, I remember them being right behind us.
Now, I know you've probably seen a lot of things in your career, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
But did this shock you?
Yes, sir.
That states aerial 11 just showing this is a photograph showing the house in relation to the pond.
Yes, sir.
Aerial 12 going back over the pond to the arena, the sand pit. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
13 just marching back down the driveway, leaving.
Yes, sir.
And then 14 just going back to the road.
Yes, sir.
Now, you've had an opportunity to look at law enforcement was able to do some drone videos about a year later in June of 2019. Did you have an opportunity to look at those drone videos?
I did.
Judge, at this time, and were those videos fair and accurate as you know the property to be when you saw it?
Yes, sir.
I tender evidence now aerial 15, aerial 16, and aerial 17, which are 3 drone videos done by the sheriff's office about a year later.
All right, any objections?
No objection.
All right, they're admitted.
Go ahead.
All right, play the video.
I'm just going to let this one play. It's about 2 minutes and 10 seconds long.
Excuse you, whoever that was.
Just maybe we dim the lights, or it's not?
Dim the lights, not better.
Thank you.
Just flip the switch, right? Flip the switch down.
There's the house. Tucked in the trees there by the pond. So where's the burn pile? Uh-oh, we're spinning, we're spinning. We're going down, guys, we're going down. Nope, oh, we're good. This is novice level filming by any drone pilot. Looks like a small gathering is occurring there at the driveway entrance. Guess you just park there on the main road. Not much traffic. Oh, whoa! We're gonna tip down.
We play now aerial 16, which is about 7 minutes and 13 seconds long.
Should hire one of these young kids to do a fly-through. Oh, look, there's a ballistic dummy.
Captain Love, while that's going on, you went around this as the drone is going. This left side is kind of how y'all approach the burn pile.
Yes, sir.
So they did an eye-level drone flight instead of just carrying a camera. Ooh, just about hit the weeds and the tree. There are guys that can put on FPV goggles and fly this thing backwards in their sleep. That's how we need to see this. Potts paid big money for that opening segment. Probably not even relevant to the case, but... Ooh, birds. Those chickens? They're like... They're like... It's like taking steps, but with a drone. There's a tree. Right there. Saw a chicken. Okay, a little clearing. We can go a little faster with the drone. See how close to the leaves we can get. A little shakiness, but we're good. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ooh, that was close. That was close. Just about caught a prop there on that little tree. This took 10 times longer than it needed to because they were trying to fly the drone to get this eye-level shot instead of just walking a camera. For $129, you can get a gyro stabilized gimbal you can clip your phone to, and thousands of times a second it will correct for any vibration or tilting, and you can just walk and it will film the whole thing, and it will look like you're floating on air. And instead we've got this jerky drone video. Probably not even from a Part 107 certified pilot. The guy's walking along underneath, looking up with the controller. Another step, another step, another step. Oh, man. Some of these racing drones that are available out there that have captured incredible footage are capable of flying 60 plus miles an hour, and the pilots are good enough that they can fly it down a chimney and out into the room without hitting the sides. I mean, it's crazy. Be very quiet. We are hunting rabbits. We've got like another mile to go to the burn pit. It's going to take all year. Oh, man. The manufacturer of this drone is like, please don't say what company we are. Please don't say what company we are. Because this is like the worst advertisement for a drone ever. Oh, I started to recognize the area.
Captain Bob, I know this is about a year later, but is that the area of the burn pile?
Yes, sir.
He just lights it up right in the middle of all those trees. Now we're using the fan from the drone to blow any remaining evidence around. Scatter that nice and good. This is the worst video ever, I'm sorry. This is terrible. Whoop. And back up. How about we just land right on the burn pile and just cap off the video that way? We saw this part before. We're coming in for landing. Leaves are scattering. Due to the style of filming, I'm not sure if we're like 3/4 of a mile or 3 feet from the house. Kells Bells, thank you. 9 months, congratulations. Last Friday was fabulous. Oh, we're looking down again. We're looking down again. We're not done. Back to the burn pit. We've gotten lower. Really close. Now we're zooming in. We're going to land on the burn pit. Oh, I saw the drone. I can see the shadow of the drone. We are landing. Battery's dead. Guys, clear the area. Clear the area. We're landing. We're landing right here. This is the spot. This is so bad, guys. I cannot begin to tell you. We're clearing away all the debris using this useful tool to, oh, now we're getting sick.
Captain Love, on stage exhibit aerial 16, roughly right at 7 minutes. Is this a view showing from the burn pile to the house?
Yes, sir.
We're not done. It's still going. It's still going. She drove the tractor through this? No way.
Next is State's Exhibit Aerial 17, which is 4 minutes and 27 seconds. Another drone video.
We're getting our money's worth out of this DJI Mavic 2. I think we're flying. This drone is probably, based on what I saw from the shadow, 1 foot to 18 inches wide at the max. That's wingtip to wingtip, prop to prop corner. And it's having to carefully navigate between these trees. They're trying to tell us that she drove a tractor through here. Not just a tractor, but a tractor with a bucket on the front and a bush cutter on the back. Through all these trees to dump the corpse on the burn pit. This guy will just hit a tree, it would make my day. Oh, now we're hauling. He's got it in sport mode now. We are moving. They're doing the low possum view. This is how a possum views the apartment. Or the house. See how close to the... Oh, there's our double. Are those American doors or French doors? I forget. Yeah, we already saw this part. Here we go. Forward. He's looking for the up button. He's trying to raise the... Oh, there it is. There's up. Okay, we needed more altitude. That was it. This guy is reading the instruction manual as he flies before each command he gives the drone. Now we need to turn to the right. Nope, that's left. Well, we could just turn all the way around to the left, and then it would be like we turned to the right. Would it be quicker to go back the other way, or just continue? Let's make it look like we did it on purpose. It's like when we accidentally turn left 3 times instead of taking a right-hand turn. Nope, now we go back. These are just trees. We're looking at them at branch height because that's how we can tell our trees. Christmas lights hung between the trees, or is that a clothesline? I'm not sure. Probably Christmas lights, I'm guessing. Got a birdhouse. Most commonly used by the squirrels. Let's get a closer look at the grass. Can we tip down at that, or maybe turn to see the French doors? This video is actually going to be become quite famous. It's going to be used in drone pilot classes as the benchmark for what not to do.
Captain State's Exhibit Aerial 17. Roughly at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, is it showing 2 doors
Here's our pilots.
outside the house?
There's our pilots.
Yes, sir.
And we're overexposed. There's the drone pilot. Clearly, his first time. Gets the obligatory selfie with the drone in flight.
After you...
Well, there's more. There's a whole file folder.
Did you turn the scene over to law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Wow.
All right. Anything?
That drone head was on its first charge.
Replaying the video.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Flip them back up, please.
Aziz, light.
Good afternoon, Captain Love. My name is John Luke Weaver, and I represent Melody Ferris in this matter. And it is Captain, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So on that day, you responded with who?
Me and my partner, Kenny Holland, were on the ambulance. On the fire truck was Jacob Kinney and Megan Hamilton.
Okay.
So 2 Kennys
So
and
you
4
got
Teds.
off of the ambulance.
Yes.
And you get, again, the fire truck could not make it up the driveway.
Correct.
Why was that?
Because the weight of the fire truck, we don't typically drive the fire truck on driveways. If it's a long driveway, they'll either have to walk or they'll jump in the back of the ambulance with us.
Because the fire
And on
truck
that call,
driver
they
was
jumped
our
in the back of the ambulance.
drone pilot.
So you get out, you've got your pack, you don't really know what you have at the time, as you testified to earlier, but you walked up the driveway and you encountered, who did you encounter?
So at the end of the driveway, when we stopped and the crew from the fire truck was getting on, there was a gentleman at the end of the driveway telling us that he could show us where at the time we thought a patient was.
Okay. Now, you stated earlier that he kept saying to you he knew what a burned body looked like.
Correct.
And that's something that's resonated in your memory 6.5 years later.
Yes, sir.
All right. That was Scott Ferris, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. What was his demeanor?
He was, I guess the best word is just panicked.
Okay. Do you remember anything else? Did he say anything else to you about where the location of this was?
That he would show us. He said it was a pretty good walk. He would show us where it was.
Now, were there any other family members close by as this was happening?
I did not see anyone else.
Did you speak to any of the other family members on the property?
No, sir.
Did he mention to you or to anybody that worked with you that day, did he ever bring up anything about a missing gun?
No, sir.
All right. But how many times do you think he said he knew what a burned body looked like?
Probably 2-3 times when I was asking questions when we were still in the back of the ambulance.
All right. Do you remember anything else he said?
I don't remember when he said it, but he said his dad had been missing for a couple of days and they'd been looking for him, but that wasn't unusual for him to be missing, I guess.
He said that to you?
Yes.
Okay. And that's when he walked you back there himself?
Yes.
And that was just as we saw in the video, back down the house, from behind the house. What would you say the grade on that piece of property was?
It was a little bit of an incline, but not too steep.
All right. And how far behind? I mean, because videos and pictures certainly don't do justice necessarily to being there in person. How far behind the house would you say that burn pile was?
I couldn't tell you. Because, I mean, at the time, I'm not thinking about how far I'm walking. I'm just, like, walking, trying to get some information and thinking about what we're going to do.
So generally speaking, the images that we saw today were taken roughly a year later. You didn't take those pictures, correct?
Correct.
Right. But compare and contrast the state of the burn pile that day, July the 5th, 2018.
Just in reference to my report, I estimated it was probably about a 6 foot in diameter, and I don't remember, I think 3 feet maybe high.
Was it still smoking? Could you tell? Was it hot?
I don't remember seeing any smoke, and we didn't bring our thermometer down there to check because we were on an EMS call and we were thinking.
But you picked up the skull. Was it
get
hot?
The patient, go to the hospital.
And you mentioned that. Now, did you have any gloves or anything like that on?
Yeah, we had medical exam gloves on.
So I imagine that you wouldn't have thought it was a very hot fire if you would reach down and touch it.
No, sir, it wasn't.
All right. When you touched what was a remain, was it hot?
I don't remember it being hot, not like to burn me. It was warm outside, so I mean it wasn't like it was on fire currently or enough to burn me, but it was, I guess, ambient temperature.
There'll be a number of expert witnesses. I expect that the state is going to. I keep thinking there's a map up there, but there's not. There's a number of expert witnesses that I believe the state's going to call, kind of talking about how they have mapped out the burn pit, the burn pile, where certain things were found within the burn pile. But you stated that you picked up what I believe you believe to be the skull of Mr. Ferris.
I didn't know who, but yes, it appeared to be a skull.
But you picked it up, yes?
I didn't pick it up.
Okay.
I lifted like the corner and let it lay back down to where it was.
Immediately laid it back down?
Yeah, I did not move it.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't pick it up to move it.
You didn't pick it up and hold it in your hand?
No, sir.
You just
I just
rolled
made
it
sure
and
it
put
was.
back.
I just made sure it was like not a rock, and there was,
And that would have been when you made the signal 48?
Yes, sir.
Was Scott Ferris standing there when you were doing that?
I assume so. I mean, he walked us back there, and he was still back there when we were leaving. I don't think he left.
Any other family members around?
I do not remember any other family members.
Did you ever remember speaking with my client, Melody Ferris?
No, sir.
And did you see her even?
I did not.
When you walk down there, and I believe this is important, so take your time to answer this question. Because all of Cherokee County responded following you after your signal 48. Did you ever notice any tractor marks near the fire?
I did not notice, sir.
All right. Did you notice any RTV tire treads? Like a tire tread, a car tread, any kind of a...
RTV?
I did not notice.
All right. How about, could you see where horse hoof marks would be somewhere around the fire? Could you see any of that?
I didn't notice anything like that.
All right. Any tools or implements for the fire?
I didn't notice. I wasn't looking for stuff like that either.
Yes, ma'am.
But I did not notice.
Okay. Anything else you would remember about that day?
No, sir.
How long did you leave after the signal 48?
Pretty quickly after I called and told them that it was a signal 48 and law enforcement was there. We turned the scene over as quickly as possible, especially for the ambulance to get back in service for, the next emergency call. So we left pretty quickly.
If I may have one brief second, Your Honor. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you can sit down. Thank you, ma'am.
Just your names on call.
All right. That's fine. All right, call your next witness.
This is time to take calls. Robert Raleigh. Robert Raleigh.
A lot of those white shirts in back are not bailiffs. Those are fire marshals there.
Just before we allow, we'd like to finish with this witness today. We want to be more after this.
Last witness of the day.
This won't be very long.
You got another one we could call? Next is going to be long. Are they here? We'll do the preliminary stuff.
Sir, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you about to present in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat, state your name for the record, and tell us where you work and what do you do?
Very modern.
Ben Raleigh, over Cherokee County Sheriff's Department, UPD. Been there 11 and a half years.
And what do you do at the Sheriff's Department?
Investigate crimes, car crashes, supervise, and road patrol.
I want to turn your attention now to Thursday, July 5th, 2018.
And beard
right
model.
right around 1 p.m. Did you respond to 2155 Purcell Lane in Alpharetta, Cherokee County, Georgia?
I did.
Tell the jury what you responded for.
I responded for a person down. Essentially, I guess the son of the mother called and said he'd been to Iraq, seen a person burning before, he knows what it looks like, and I responded as the supervisor.
Where'd you come from?
That precinct.
How long did it take you to get there?
It took me quite a while.
And when you respond, what do you remember seeing there?
There was some family outside, and there was another deputy at the front porch.
You got your cell phone with you?
I do.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Do me a favor, the judge allows. Can you Google what day of the week is July 5th, 2018?
What?
Judge, you okay?
you, Google. Hey, Siri.
Calendar.
Okay, just kidding.
This is perfect calendar. No objection. Judge, I'll tender to evidence now State's Exhibit Raleigh 1, which is a calendar. Did you beat me?
Yes. There you go.
All right, so looking at State's Exhibit Raleigh 1 for your name and your one exhibit there, number 1.
Oh, my goodness.
July 2018, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you respond July 5th, which is a Thursday,
Yes, sir.
about 1 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
And do you have an opportunity to review State's Exhibit Raleigh 2, which is just a portion of your video from your patrol vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Is it fair and accurate and describe you pulling up the driveway?
Yes, sir.
Judge, at this time I'm tendering to evidence State's Exhibit Raleigh 2, which is a clip from his patrol vehicle video.
All right. Okay.
Tendering to evidence this time.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go.
This you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, nice square footage. Love it. Straight out of the 70s. I think we're EGA or possibly VGA quality as well. Oh, driveway's blocked by a Lexus. Apparently we don't need to hear this part. They're turning the volume down. I will turn it back up.
Left of the screen, you'll see yourself walking up there.
Yes, sir.
Is this Windows Media Player? It's either a horse chewing or someone walking.
You go around to the left of the house. Yes, sir. Thank you.
When you arrived, where did you go?
I went to the left side of the house.
And where'd you end up?
Inside the house.
Did you go in how did you see in the house? Did you see Melody Ferris, the defendant, in the house?
Yes, sir.
Now let the record reflect. Is this the defendant that you saw in the house?
You know, I believe so.
Okay.
It's 6 years ago. Yes, sir.
Right. She looked like the person that you saw?
Yes, sir.
What?
When you went in, where was she at?
She was on the outside, and then she came on inside.
He's like,
did you clear the house?
I did.
Long
Tell the
time
jury
ago.
what clearing the house is.
So clearing the house is anytime you go on scene, you need to make sure that nothing else is inside the house, and that's just standard operating procedure, what we do.
When you walked in, did the defendant go and get anything from the house?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
She asked if she could enter the house. She forgot to get 2 rings that were inside a drawer, and I allowed her to do so. And we went inside the house. She went into a junk drawer and pulled out 2 rings and put them on her ring finger.
Where was this in the house? Do you remember?
It was on inside the kitchen.
Kitchen area?
Yes, sir.
And then after that, what happened?
And then she left. She went back outside.
At any point while you were out there, were you, I guess, tasked with doing security or making sure nothing was getting moved, things like that?
Yes, sir.
And did you ever smell anything?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury what you smelled.
Just like cleaning solution, like bleach. It was a very faint odor.
Remember anything about a candle?
Yes. The candle was reflected in my report. I can't remember exactly the candle. It was 6 years ago.
But there was a candle burning in the house?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, Mr. Weaver.
Did I hear you say, are you corporal?
Yes, sir.
Corporal, I'm John Luke Weaver, and I represent Melody Ferris. So, what you just summed up, was that, how long were you there that day?
I was there for a while. I mean, if it happened at 1 o'clock, I wasn't relieved until about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
All right, so you were there 4 or 5 hours.
Sure.
All right. And you were the first one to respond with Cherokee County Sheriff's Office?
Incorrect.
Okay. Who was?
Incorrect.
I believe it was be on CAD, but I know that I relieved Deputy Moss at the time.
All right. So there had already been a number of people there by the time you got there.
Sure.
All right. And you walk in. Were you the first person to talk to Miss Ferris that you know of?
I don't know.
Had anybody else? So you walked in the house immediately once you got there?
I don't remember.
All right. And you walked in the house and
This is
you
Georgia,
immediately
guys.
smelled. What did you say you smelled?
The odor like a cleaning solution, like bleach.
All right. Did you walk into a laundry room? Did you notice there was a laundry room close by when you walked in the house?
I don't remember.
Okay, you don't remember. And a candle. What did you say? You smelled a candle burning?
I believe there was it reflected in my report that there was a candle. I don't recall.
But you don't recall the candle?
Correct.
Then why would you write in a report that this candle was important to you, but you don't remember what it was?
Because that's 6 years ago.
Okay. Is it unusual for people to have a candle burning in their house?
Sure. Is it unusual?
Yes. Is it unusual? Or is it usual?
Yeah.
It's normal.
Correct.
So why was that unusual to you?
I don't know.
Okay.
6 years
And
ago.
is it
I don't
unusual
remember.
for people to clean their houses?
Yeah, that's standard.
It's standard. And when you walk into a house, some of them smell clean, correct?
Sure.
All right. And would this have been any more different than if you walked into anybody's clean house? Yours, for example.
No.
Go ahead, Judge. Okay, hold on. One more.
Wait. Hold. Time out. Hold your horses, everybody.
All right, so you cleared this house, yes?
Correct.
All right. And was anybody else with you?
I believe Deputy Moss.
Okay. And when you cleared this house, did you notice anything else out of place?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you notice any blood splatter?
No, sir.
Did you notice any droplets of blood?
No, sir.
Did you notice a bullet surreptitiously placed in the floor in the basement?
No, sir.
Okay. Nothing else. You just noticed maybe the smell of, you say bleach, maybe.
Yeah, cleaning solution, bleach.
And a candle.
Pine
Yes, sir.
Sol.
But you don't remember what the candle smelled like.
No.
Okay. Anything else? Fair.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I'm guessing it was strawberry.
I
Strawberries.
want to follow up on this candle. I think you were in the kitchen, is that right?
Correct.
And you said it's been 6 years?
Yes.
Don't remember everything?
Don't.
Did you write a report?
Yes, sir.
Are you taught to write something significant or important to put in your report?
Absolutely.
Would it refresh your memory, your recollection, to be able to look at your report and see what you said or wrote down about the candle?
Yes.
Judge Matt Roach. With all this technology now, I have the reports on my laptop. So what I want you to do is take my laptop, just hold it to yourself. Is that your report?
Yes, sir.
Do me a favor, go ahead and just read it to yourself. Don't read it out loud.
I'd like the
Go
defense
section
to
at bottom
review the
where it talks
entire
about the candle.
laptop.
All right, now being in the kitchen, there was a door. Where was the candle at?
I don't remember it was a big house. I don't remember exactly where the candle was.
Okay, you remember what room it is?
No, sir.
What do you now recall what you wrote in your report where the candle was?
He's going to read
Yeah,
it.
the candle was being lit in front of the basement door.
Now approach on. Basement door.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further.
Did you take any photos of where this candle was?
No,
Just
sir.
try to get rid of the smell of
Are you aware of
murder.
any being taken
Permeates
of
my
this
studio
candle?
here.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you ever look in the dining room where the candle was?
Again, I couldn't even tell you where the dining room was.
Right. And you couldn't tell me where the laundry room was either.
Correct.
That's all, Judge.
All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you can step down.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
Just going to be approached. Just
All right.
Can you guys hear this? This is a Woodwick. I think it's called a Woodwick candle.
Rough getting behind, but
It's designed to make that soothing little smell on that sound.
Attorneys have said that the next witness is going to be lengthy, and they don't want to start for 30 minutes and then break for the evening and then start back in the morning. So we're going to recess today. Y'all report back in the morning at, I want y'all here at 8:45 in the jury room. So that means y'all need to get here before that downstairs. There'll be someone, like I said, at your parking spaces. Does anyone know are they under the deck? Does anyone have any idea?
Why don't we tell everybody where the jury's parking?
Drive around till you see someone who will direct you where you're supposed to go, or you see cones. There'll be some orange cones when you come in. I believe they're going to be under the parking deck. So when you pull in straight from the street entrance, go under the parking deck, and I think it'll either be under the parking deck or that first row in front of the parking deck. But they're probably going to put them under the deck in case we have weather, and that way y'all are not in the rain. So look for the orange cones or tape blocking off. There should be someone there directing you where to go. That way we don't have to worry about having a place for y'all to park when we have hundreds of people here throughout the trial. It's critically important, everything I've told you so far about not talking to anyone about the case, looking up anything about the case, the witnesses, the parties, reviewing anything about the trial.
We'll hear all about the parties.
There is multiple sources of what y'all have already observed on the internets right now. Don't watch any of it. If someone brings it to your attention, ignore it. If it pops up in your feed, ignore
judge
it.
in chat.
All those things. And again, if anything significant happens, let us know, and we'll address that in the morning. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about what y'all are supposed to do between now and tomorrow? If there are any issues that come up overnight, if someone gets sick, something like that, call the jury phone number, leave a message. They'll check the phone first thing.
We won't even answer.
Or send an email to them, whatever they want you to do. But check in with that, and they will call you in the first thing in the morning and give you all direction on what to do. And we will bring you in and accommodate whatever we can, how best we can. All right, anything else we need to take up before I dismiss the jurors? All right. I told the bailiff to instruct y'all if y'all want to bring in some snacks or drinks or things like that, y'all can use bailiff can put them in my fridge. Anything else? All right, and we'll recess for the day. See y'all in the morning.
Oh my goodness! This judge is like, "Hey, y'all, you can use my fridge in my office if you want some snacks, but I reserve the right to sample anything that's placed in my fridge." This judge is laid back, very laid back. Oh man, he's more concerned about parking, like the jury getting good parking spots, than he is with them following the rules. I mean, he wants them to follow the rules, but he spent much more time about the parking.
Y'all don't go anywhere yet.
We're just right here, Judge. We are riveted to our seats. Hoping for a replay of the drone footage.
I think we had talked, Mr. Weaver, Mr. Ray, that y'all had talked to your client about sidebars.
We probably need to put it on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's put that on the record. So, I think we talked about it, Ms. Ferris, but I don't think we specifically went on the record with it. We just had a short sidebar. As I indicated to the jury, we're not going to do anything substantive over there. We huddled up over there, and the state said our next witness is going to be lengthy, and we would rather call them tomorrow instead of going forward today. I asked your attorneys, and they said, that's fine with us. That is most likely going to be the nature of anything that we talk about on the side. You have the right to be present for anything in regard to your trial, and there are a couple of Supreme Court decisions that say that a bench conference is in fact a critical stage and part of the trial, and you have the right to be present. But as a practical matter, sending the jury out to the jury room while we do something like that can be counterproductive and disruptive. So do you agree to waive your presence for those type bench conferences? You need to say yes on the record. All right.
Wow.
She indicates that.
Gave away your right like that.
As I said, I will do my best. If anything substantive comes up, I will stop it, and we will send the jury out and take it up outside their presence. And if there's anything else that we need to take up, we will bring it and give you an opportunity to address it during the next break. But I plan on it just being logistical things like that. All right. Anything else we need to take up before we break for the day?
What do you think about schedule-wise tomorrow? Go long until...
I'd like to go at least till 5, shoot for 5:30 every day.
Okay.
And
break at noon for lunch, or
we'll break 12:30 and break for an hour and 15 minutes tomorrow. I'm not bringing in food tomorrow, but we may do that on Wednesday.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
Hang on.
All right, we'll be in recess. Thank y'all.
We'll be excused, Your Honor.
Yes. And y'all have your conference room, but y'all can leave whatever you want in here or in your remote office in the building.
There you go. All right. With that, they're done. Not bringing food tomorrow. They're going to abuse the jury. They're just going to give them water. That's all they get is just water. But they can bring snacks and put them in the judge's fridge. This is a crazy case. This is crazy. I'm actually studying and prepping for this by candlelight, as you can see, inspired by the talk about candles. She's accused of shooting and killing her husband and then putting his body on the burn pile. I would say 30 yards, maybe 30 yards away from the house, maybe 30 to 50. It's hard to tell with the drone, but probably 30 yards away from the house. The burn pile is tiny, and they estimated the size to basically be the width of the husband's height. Let me just tell you something about fires. The middle, 150 yards by drone, the middle burns hot. The outside doesn't burn. That's why when you have a campfire, like a lot of times the big logs and stuff you put in there, the outsides, you'll have like stubs, little, the down to the ends of the logs. The closer to the center, everything burns. If you have a body the width of your campfire, you're going to have the head and the feet, unless you manage to do the whole fold over effect and sort of double up, that just won't get the same heat distribution, if you know what I mean. And so if they had like almost nothing visible, maybe just a foot and a skull, yeah. The drone footage was done a year afterwards, so yeah, they probably should have picked up the skull before then. So I did not see it in the video. But that was probably the worst drone footage I have ever seen, and I've seen some bad drone footage. I've seen flights that ended in a tree that were smoother and easier to follow than that. How to burn a body 101. Yeah, pretty much. So, folks, what you want to do is use rotisserie. Red forward. Oh, my goodness. Bit like roasting a chicken. Yeah. Nobody's mentioned the smell. Just fun fact, bodies don't smell good when burning. All right. Great placeholder while we wait for Boone. Yes, Legally Blonde, we are waiting for Boone. Boone's trial has been put off 1 week, pushed out 1 week because of the storm. What storm? Milton, the Category 5 hurricane churning its way eastward in the Gulf of Mexico right now, with its eye centered on Orlando and the surrounding area. Were people around when she supposedly did this? Apparently, no. The candle was to cover the smell. The candle covered the smell of the bleach. The bleach was to cover the blood. But no drag marks, no blood. I mean, there was blood on the floor that was not cleaned up, but the floor, the carpet, everywhere else, there was no drag marks of anything on the grass. I just have a hard time seeing how this defendant, this diminutive. She's small. She's not a big lady. She's not. I mean, she's a farm girl, so I'm sure she's got some muscle. But I'm just having a hard time seeing how she can wield. I mean, when they say dead weight, dead people are hard to lift because of how that is. It's much easier to lift a live person than a dead person, same weight, and it's just because the way the body hangs and things. It's hard to move a body, or so I hear. Allegedly, I should say. Wheelbarrow. It's hard to get the body in the wheelbarrow. This is a crazy, crazy case. Broken Baker, welcome. The crew just joined. We are just trying to wrap our head around what we just saw in this trial. Whoops, my phone's ringing here. Just one second. We'll take the call, then I'll show you.
Call from Debbie Cook. To accept,
Debbie,
press
I'm
1.
trying. There we go. Hey, Debbie. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm not trying to be a killjoy.
Okay.
I know we're all disappointed about the trial being postponed.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other things to worry about.
Yeah.
We just got our electricity back a few days ago.
From Helene. Yeah.
Yeah. There are still people that are missing that need to be rescued. Houses need to be rebuilt. People have lost many, many more important things than a trial.
I hear you.
And we're about to get slammed again. So
it's terrible. Debbie, over the weekend I was taking calls from Crisis Cleanup. I'm wearing their shirt right now. Crisis Cleanup does the hotline for people who need help. And I took about just shy of 70 calls yesterday of people who need everything from just there's a branch in my yard, I can't drag it, it's too heavy, to I've got 95 trees down, to I've got, one lady said, I've got a 9-month-old, I had a tree come down through my living room and went through the bedroom and crushed the bed, we have nowhere to go, and just everything in between. It was crazy. I'm personally part of a crew that's supposed to be going out this weekend to the Asheville area to help in North Carolina with the cleanup. It's organized through my church, through a lot of areas, a lot of people in the area. It's going to be 8,000 people total that we're sending, and they can't let us go. We just got the email today saying they don't have the infrastructure. There's nowhere. You have to be, first of all, you have to be entirely self-sufficient, and it's camping. So they're putting us in campgrounds and anywhere they can, but there's just no facilities. The roads aren't there open. So we've got 8,000 people ready to cover, Western North Carolina, South Carolina, some of Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia. I don't know how far in Georgia it goes, but up into Virginia, and they said you've got to wait because we're not ready to receive the help yet, even though there's desperate help. So it's a little frustrating, but I hear you, and I can't wait to help on the ground. But
my husband just finished picking up limbs and stuff out of the yard yesterday. Our carport is in pieces strewn across our yard and into our field. And, and now we are preparing again for another hurricane. We're not going to get hit as straight on this time because we're in the Big Bend. We're about an hour east of Cedar Key. So Cedar Key got destroyed by Helene. I've seen pictures like streets that I've walked on, like where there's these cute little kitschy tourist shops. Like there's no street there anymore. It's just all water.
Yeah, and not just water, but the street and all the foundation and several feet down, and it's like a chasm. To repair this, the amount of fill material that will be required is just unimaginable. Just to restore the holes that need to be filled in back to the level. It's going to be just a huge effort.
Yeah, I wanted to drive down there and see it until I saw the pictures. on the news, and then I was like, oh no, I don't think it's even safe to drive close to it to look, because it's all, like you said earlier, it's all swamp around there until you get there, and then it's a series of bridges. So I don't even know if anybody can get in and out of there still now. So, and then our road, because we live out in the country, the trees always fall over and block the road. And I have a little bitty Mustang that can't get out when we have storms, because the trees always get knocked over and go across our road. My husband has an F-150, so he can drive through the field and get out on the dirt roads, the back, out the back way, like the tractors and stuff do, through the dairy. But I'm stuck at home.
Yeah. Let me, I showed this a little bit this morning. I'm going to show it again just briefly. And I'm not going to zoom in to see any personal information. I don't want to show that. But this is right here. This is through Crisis Cleanup, the phone organization we're working with, to document every single dot is somebody who needs help. So you say, what part of Florida are you in?
I'm in Trenton.
Where's that at?
It is, keep going. No. Right about where, no, up. I'm west of Gainesville, so north central.
Between
down.
Jacksonville and Tallahassee? Oh, Gainesville, Trenton. Here's Trenton right here.
Trenton. Yeah.
There's just a few dots here. I'll zoom out a little bit. So right here that's just a few dots. It looks like you've got crews that are working. The green dots mean people are on the ground and have completed tasks. Most of these are probably trees that were down, things like that. The distribution of those dots, it gets really, really dense as we go further north, as areas that aren't used to that kind of wind and water just got slammed. I mean, it's just, there are areas here around Greenville, South Carolina, that are just destroyed wind-wise.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I'll let you go. I just wanted to say, I know I'm disappointed too, but
yeah, this is more important. Life is more important.
Yeah, it is.
We do hope that everyone stays safe. We've got a lot of friends down there, people that we've met through this community, as well as family and friends that live in that area. So, our thoughts and prayers with all of you. Please stay safe.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Alrighty.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. We'll see you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right. We are. Let's see. We are. Well, I was looking for chat and it's not there. Hang on. There we go. The name of the organization we're working through is called Crisis Cleanup, and it combines private organizations, churches, community groups, government organizations, everything, and we organize data. So Crisis Cleanup, like when you go and say, if you're watching the news and they say, if you need help with cleanup, there are two numbers you can call. You call FEMA. FEMA helps with money usually. Sometimes they'll help with tarping. And the second number they call is Crisis Cleanup. They've been doing hurricane coverage for years and years. We've been, the number that they give out is Crisis Cleanup. So, and then the way it works is somebody calls in and said, I need help, and we put it on the map, and then all the volunteer organizations, whether it's a group of 20 people from the Louisiana Baptist Church who's coming up to the area to work, or whether it's the Red Cross who's sending a team in, they can all access this. They log in, they see what needs are there in the area, and they know exactly who to contact. They know where it is. They have the details of what the need is. And oftentimes, as soon as we create the case, the person gets a text message. They can send text message pictures of what the needs are if there's more description that's needed, and then it can all be tracked. And this reduces duplication, and it also helps people so that the crews that are helping on the ground don't send all the work to places that don't need it. They can see who is in the most need and where they're best able to help. So that's cool. Where is Brandy? Brandy is at the trial. At the Boone trial, but she was there this morning. She's going to stay right there in town with friends. She's in a safe building. And she's going to write it out with Lucy. She's going to go get Lucy and write it out there. Laura, for those that missed the Boone update, Sarah Boone was in court this morning. They decided the two things. First of all, they offered her a plea deal. 15 years, and she turned it down. And so they're going to go forward with jury selection, but because of the storm, it's going to be delayed 1 week. So jury selection will start next week. All right. It was insane to turn that offer. I agree. Now, if she felt that she didn't do it, I mean, if I was her and I felt I didn't do it, this was not me, I'm not guilty, then I can understand why you would turn it down. But this isn't a whodunit. This is a why, Sarah, instead. All right. She wants the attention of a trial. It's not going to help. The outcome, she could serve up to life in prison if she's convicted. It's just, I don't know, it just seems like a poor choice there. That is a really, really sweet deal that she turns down. All right. Let's see what else we have. I was going to read you some updates here about the Asheville area. Okay. Due to the lack of supplies, camping space, and sanitary facilities, large numbers of volunteers, including all of us in this group, were unable to be placed for assignments this coming weekend. For your information, there will be 75 different groups from our organization deployed across 16 command centers this weekend, setting the record for the largest emergency response in our organization's history. We got resources from Atlanta, Indianapolis, and western states as well, sending everything they can find transport for. It isn't enough to support the 8,000 plus volunteers. There are plans to use this week to build showers, find new campgrounds, and load more work orders in order to scale up the response further. And he told us, because we're anxious to get out there, he says, "I promise you'll get your turn. We'll send out more information soon." So it's going to go out there this weekend. It looks like it might be at some point later. The document Broken Baker read, which one was it? We read a document this morning for Sarah Boone that was just jaw-dropping. It was Sarah Boone, right? That was the one where it says that perhaps she doesn't know how to play hide and seek. Oh my goodness. It has details. The details are coming out in what she has told the expert witnesses that are going to talk about battered spouse syndrome. She gave them details about the relationship and things that had happened beyond what we had heard in the interviews, and just shocking. We read that this morning, so if you want to go back, that's worth a rewatch. All right. I think we're going to wrap it for the day. It is 5:30 after all. We've been here. We've put in a full day of work.
In front of the Walmart.
That's not the right sound effect. Let's try this one instead. Is it the beginning of the morning stream or the end? I don't know. If somebody could give an approximate timestamp of the beginning. It's going to, if you scroll through, it's got the words on the screen. It's a PDF we're reading. Good day in court. We'll have more tomorrow. We'll follow this case and then take a break for Sarah Boone and maybe come back to this case. I think Sarah Boone might be done before this one, believe it or not. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again tomorrow morning about 8:45-ish. 45-ish. I'm gonna blow out this candle just so I don't burn down my studio. You can see I've got a fan going. See all that smoke? It's a lot of smoke. It's not stopping. All right, there you go. Happy birthday to all who are celebrating a lot of birthdays today. It's really cool. All right, we will we'll see you in the morning. Everybody good to each other. We will see you in the morning. Oh, one more thing. I was going to say, update. We did talk to Andrea, who is the mom of the ex-boyfriend for Haley in the Cedric Simpson case. We've basically said we're going to step back and not pull them into the limelight here. This is very uncomfortable for them, and I recognize that. And I apologize for even though I think what we did benefited them, and I'm not unhappy about that at all. But we're going to step back and watch it as it plays out in court, and then once the update occurs, we're going to talk about it then. So thank you all. Have a good night. We'll see you.